1:45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Papi.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything possible!
What's going on, everyone? And this is another edition of Kicking It with Kruse on the IM6 and IM6 network. I'm your host, Ben Kruse, as we obviously have a massive show for you all once again tonight, and our second for this week. We're planning to have a couple of guests on for our tonight's program. Isaiah Leone and James Gonzalez plan to be on in a little bit, as well as Shardul Gupta, who I've had some shows with him in the past, so that should be really exciting. And obviously, we'll talk a lot of stuff sports-wise tonight, content-wise. But before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe to all of our content on the IM6 and MI6 network. Obviously, last night we had our extra point. I wasn't able to make it, but Laura and Isaiah Leone were our two hosts last night that put on a great show. I'll have the chance to watch in a little bit after this is over. And then this weekend, I'm planning to probably have a show at the end of this weekend, recapping week 4 of the NFL season. Week 5 of college football is this weekend with a lot of decent games in that slate. We'll talk about, obviously, baseball. Of course, this is the last weekend of the regular season. And then next week is the start of the baseball playoffs. So obviously a lot to get into, as well as in the NBA, there was some massive trade, a massive trade that went down that we'll talk about later on in the program. So with that being said, without further ado, we'll get started, and we will get started with, as usual, our MLB baseball segment. Obviously, on Tuesday night, for those that did join, we had our last team report segment of the baseball part of Kicking It with Kruse. But tonight we will talk about the latest in terms of the baseball playoff race. I know that a lot really hasn't much changed since Tuesday night. However, congratulations to the Baltimore Orioles. For the first time, it feels like forever, they have officially won the American League East, as we now have James Gonzalez, one of our co-hosts, as usual, join for tonight's program. James, hope you're doing well, my friend.
I'm doing good, but I'm like I said on my Instagram page, I'm really happy for the Orioles tonight, clinching the toughest division in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see a team that's gone through hell and back for many years. And, obviously with either the Red Sox or the Yankees, even the Rays, a lot of these teams have just been really overtaking them for a lot of years. And you just see specifically when a team pretty much sucks for a long period of time, eventually you get good. And eventually you get a lot of the draft prospect. You get they get the capital, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jack Westberg. A lot of these young kids are just going to get better, and they just have a really good culture going for many years to come. It sucks that they're in my division because they're such a likable team, and I'm really happy for that team. I'm really happy for those fans, and also too for the Orioles. They also had another big announcement that they are planning to keep Camden Yards for the next 30 years. That's not only good for their fans, but that's also good for me because that is a bucket list item for me to go see. So I would have been a little bit bummed out if they essentially said we have to move on to somewhere else because I wouldn't have been able to see it. But now I have many opportunities to, with my Red Sox been able to play there year in, year out, and they're actually playing there they're playing there right now for the last weekend of this regular season as we speak. Obviously, James, we're not going to do the team reports. Obviously, we talked about that on Tuesday. There's not really much we really have to talk about for that. So we'll pretty much kind of talk on baseball tonight. We'll talk about pretty much the playoff picture, kind of what's gone as the latest. The Astros took 2 out of 3 in Seattle against the Mariners. The Mariners are down 2-1 in the top of the 8th inning. As we speak right now, that is a 4-game series. Right now, as follows, the AL leaders are the Baltimore Orioles, of course, won the AL East tonight. Texas right now is currently winning the AL West. Obviously, that's still kind of up for grabs as of right now. Minnesota clinched the AL Central. The top 3 teams in the AL Central right now, Tampa Bay is number 1, Toronto's number 2, and Houston's number 3. Now, Seattle is 1.5 games back. They have literally 4 games up with Texas. Obviously, 2 teams that are fighting with each other in terms of standings wise in the AL West. For Houston, they're playing Arizona, and that's obviously going to be a really fun series in Arizona to finish off this season. Now, for both teams specifically, there's a lot at stake. For the Diamondbacks, they're trying to, take advantage, and they're trying to find a way to sneak into the NL wild card. Which I don't know if you've seen, James. There is a video, a diagram of essentially all these clinching scenarios for all these different teams, including, crazy enough to think, a team specifically that we talked about that was going to be out for a long, long time that theoretically could get into a lot of craziness happens, and that is the San Diego Padres.
Mm-hmm.
The San Diego Padres, a team essentially that a lot of people were writing off, and I think they're not going to make it. I still think that there's a very, very slim chance. But the fact that they're even brought in these certain scenarios just says a lot, specifically in terms of how they've been playing. They've been playing a lot better in this last month here to even give themselves a chance. They've actually overtaken the San Francisco Giants, who really were the team kind of outside looking in for a long period of time. Here in the stretch. Miami currently right now, they won last night in New York against the Mets. They split the doubleheader. They're currently have a delay as we speak against the Mets. And then they go to Pittsburgh. The Phillies, obviously, they're against the Mets this weekend in Citi Field. They're obviously not really playing for much. They already are going to be playing for the wild card next week. The Diamondbacks, on the other hand, obviously, like I mentioned, they're playing the Astros. The Cubs, we talked about the Cubs, obviously. They had a really bad series against the Braves. They had a couple opportunities where they had some games there where they really had control of, but the Braves doing Brave stuff. Speaking of that Braves series, I do want to obviously congratulate Ronald Acuna Jr. He became the first player in MLB history to record 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases. So congratulations for a guy that really deserves it. One of the best young players in baseball, one of the most exciting players in baseball. So I'm really excited for Acuna to have that record. And then took a look at the Reds. The Reds are now 1.5 games back. They go play against the Cardinals. Now, 1.5 games back, they're kind of in the same situation as Seattle. They kind of have to really win and get some help, like a lot of these other teams, James. So I know, obviously, I talked about the AL leaders in terms of the Orioles, the Rangers, and the Twins. The NL leaders right now, obviously the Braves, they've been pretty much clinched for like 4 months. They've been just that stacked. And they seem like they're going to be a perennial World Series favorite as of right now. We'll see. The Dodgers, obviously, NL West. And then the Brewers are the NL Central. So, obviously, James, like I asked you on Tuesday, I know, obviously, it's only been a couple nights here since our last show, but what are you looking for with this last weekend here? And the landscape specifically, that between now and our next show, which will probably be Sunday night into Monday. So essentially Mondays, I think the off day until wild card day, which be starting on Tuesday. What are you looking for to finish off the rest of the season for the AL and NL teams that are trying to get in.
Okay, so Swanson, I caught the last of that Braves game tonight against the Cubs, and this was, of course, his first series back at Trust Park, and he was 1 for 10 in that series. You mentioned the Cubs had a bad series. Well, Swanson did as well, going back there. Of course, he had the standing ovation in his first at-bat, and then the last at-bat, I think he grounded into a double play to the guy who replaced him, Marcia. So really unfortunate for him and the Cubs. Remember how that series started with the misplay by Suzuki that gave the Braves a lead and ended up winning the game there. So that really hurt him because they're half game out now. Now Miami's in there. We'll see if they can get one game ahead, depending on if the rain subsides in Queens tonight. But yeah, I'm really happy for the Diamondbacks. I think they'll stay where they are. They'll get that second spot. Yeah, I don't think San Diego will. They like everybody has to lose basically, and then the Padres have to do it. They have to win it all. So maybe it's going to stay the way it is. Miami will get that third wildcard spot, but I'm interested to see if the Brewers actually play their starters for that series against the Cubs, because Milwaukee has really nothing to play for. They're already, locked into that third, the divisional spot. So that's going to be interesting. Do you spoil the Cubs who are in your division, which all those Cub fans are going to come up from Chicago to watch that series? Or is there going to be a little, rivalry with them and make it a series? That's going to be interesting there. You mentioned, the Astros trying to stay in there, and the Diamondbacks trying to clinch their spot as well. That's going to be fun. Rangers and Mariners, of course, going on right now. A lot of fun. With the AL wildcard, I can see probably the way it is now. I've been wrong about Toronto, but they've ended up where I thought they would be, the second wild card. I had that when the season started. And I think Houston will stay ahead of Seattle for the third wild card spot. So I see that in the American League. In National League one, though, I see it the way it is, too. Philadelphia, Arizona, Miami. So, now we know Orioles will have the East, and then the Rays will have the first wild card spot, and credit to them. Through all this stuff they've been through, that's really good. So speaking of the Orioles real quick, they won their first division since 2014. So it's amazing to see. And then, credit to the manager, Brandon Hyde. It's rare that you have a manager stick around for 100-loss season. And now laundry's done, and a 100 win season. It's rare you have that difference and someone there for that long, because usually if you lose 100 games, you're gone right away. So, and they gave him nothing to work with all those years. It was just, stand-ins or real young players. They've had 12 rookies on the roster on this Oriole team too. So credit to them for putting it all together. I mean, from top of the organization all the way down to the players and the scouting. It's a really great feat. And again, I'm really happy for the Orioles.
Yeah, me too. And I think another thing about the Orioles is Brandon Hyde, the manager, should get a lot of considerations for Manager of the Year.
Yes.
He personally, I think, has gone through a lot and back with that team. And I think Oriole fans definitely deserve it. And we'll see specifically in terms of where they are, how they do in the playoffs. Because you look at it right now, teams like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, a lot of these big market type teams aren't going to be in it this year. So I think really, and I was watching a podcast that I'm going to kind of mention some tidbits from the Baseball is Dead podcast with Jared Carabas, Dallas Braden. Jeff Passan was in it a day ago, and he had a lot of interesting stuff specifically about playoffs, Shohei Ohtani, the Juan Soto stuff. So I'll talk a little bit about that with you, James, in a little bit. But I just think specifically, yeah, the Orioles definitely should get a lot of consideration in terms of how far that they can really go in because pitching wise specifically, they're young. They have Grayson Rodriguez, Dean Kramer, Kyle Bradish, but they're doing really well this year. That they're really making headway. I just don't know specifically, James, with that Oriole team, because they're still young, how much, against a team like Houston, right? Where Houston essentially, they kind of been faltering, at least in the last couple of days here before the regular season's done. But a team like that, specifically when it comes October time, it just takes a little bit for them to just turn up the notch. So, but yeah, so congratulations to the Orioles on their AL East division win. We'll see specifically in terms of by the end of this weekend when we come back on our show, which I'm hoping to do on either Sunday or Monday. We'll obviously get the full on, seedings and everything. And batter up, Isaiah Leon, who has not been here yet. He's planning to join in a little bit. He announced off the air to me that Batter Up will have a prediction show for the playoffs next week. I'll try to get in terms of date and time, in terms of when that's going to be. That's going to be a lot of fun. I remember doing it last year, and I think I remember I picked the Cardinals to go all the way. And, of course, they played the Phillies in the wild card. Of course, nobody expected the Cardinals to lose to the Phillies in the wild card. Obviously, the Phillies won that series in St. Louis, and then they obviously, history wrote from there. They almost pulled it off at the end. But I did want to talk about the Padres and them reportedly shedding payroll ahead until looking forward to the off season specifically. There was a report out a couple days ago that they were trying to shed, I believe, about $20 million, if that's correct, in terms of salary. Obviously, AJ Preller, he's a guy that loves to spend the money, but when it comes to a buttload of contracts with stars, it's going to bite you at one point at the end. And they obviously have a lot of money loaded up between Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Juan Soto. And if you look at it right now, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Xander Bogaerts aren't going anywhere. But the player that likely is going to be moving elsewhere is probably going to be Juan Soto. I think specifically, Jeff Passan said today or the other day on a podcast that theoretically the Padres could keep Soto and maybe offload some other contracts specifically. I know Drew Pomeranz still might have some money that's still kind of on the payroll for the Padres that they maybe could get rid of. But I think, Blake Snell could he'll probably be gone. Josh Hader will probably be gone. But Soto, I think, could be able to, as tough it would be for Padre fans to see, he definitely give you a decent package for how good of a star he is. So with that being said, James, how do you feel about specifically this news regarding the Padres? And, do you feel like Soto is a odd man out type of player for them this offseason?
What's weird is that I just saw an article today talking about Juan Soto. The Padres will ask him if he wants to sign an extension. So it's funny how these things go, the different stories. But I also read that about the payroll being shred by 20 mil. And I was thinking, that could work because of Hader and Snell being gone. But then you have Cronenworth, who got injured, and he's not part of the team right now. The one thing they're going to have to really rely on their young players, and they trade that all away basically for everyone else. I don't think anybody would touch Yu Darvish. I can't see that. Michael Walker would make a lot, at 16 mil. Maybe they also get rid of Robert Suarez, but I know they don't want to do that. Hassan Kim. And Matt Carpenter, man, this dude batted under 500 or under 200 all year long, and he's making 5.5 mil this year and next year. I mean, he's been awful for the Padres, and everybody
yeah, I mean, he theoretically, the Cardinals kind of moved on from him because they didn't feel like he had a lot left. He went to the Yankees where he technically kind of revived his career a little bit. So essentially, the Padres took a contract where they felt that they could do something similar as what the Yankees just did. But obviously, he's a lot older, and I wasn't surprised that this was happening.
Yeah, Nick Martinez makes $16 million, and then I think everybody thought because Matt Carpenter hit all those home runs at Yankee Stadium that he was going to duplicate it in San Diego, and that definitely wasn't the case. And he didn't have the playing time as well. It seemed like he was always on and off the bench at the beginning. Then they really forgot about him. They went to Nelson Cruz, they went to Rougned Odor, which eventually both would be gone. So they got some juggling to do in San Diego, and then also their TV contract. They don't have one right now. They're on the MLB, their own MLB, Padres network. It's not funded by anything, basically, just by the league.
Right.
They have to figure that out to get that TV money. I don't know who will shell it out because they've tried that before, and it wasn't so profitable. And it's not like they're in the biggest market, like LA, Chicago, like New York, Boston has their own, Cubs have their own. So it's going to be tough for like San Diego and Arizona, who are both out of their TV contracts, to pay some of these contracts. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to for the offseason, like you mentioned. How are they going to do this? It's going to be interesting to see. You're going to have to, well, I know they're raising the tickets up and everything up way more than it is now. And I know people were complaining about it this year, especially because of the team doing bad here. The fans are complaining about how much tickets are going to be next year and all the season tickets, how much they're going to be next year. It might be a real mess in San Diego coming up this off season. I'll be shocked. I know they won Ohtani and they think they can trade for every superstar and sign every free agent like they did the last couple of off seasons, but it's not going to be like that this year. It's going to be maybe the opposite, where they start losing pieces just based on money and based on I say this in a way that I don't mean the word, but kind of greed, where you'll do anything to be a winner. You'll pay anything to be a winner. But in San Diego, that really hasn't happened, where they did it overload. They did it with the overload mind frame, where they went out and spent for everyone. And, a decade before this, they weren't doing anything. It was nothing. They had all these youngsters and stuff. So it's funny how this extreme of the way the Padres have been, it's really fading, and it's really sad because they keep losing to the Dodgers, and that was their main guy. They dethroned him last year in the divisional series, and now they're not even near him again. It just doesn't matter, and they took a risk, and it's going to hurt them in the long run, I think, after all this.
Well, you were mentioning about the Padres free agents, and obviously this offseason they have Blake Snell, they got Josh Hader, they got Nick Martinez, they got Robert Suarez, they got all these guys, and if they're trying to shed about 40 to 50 million of their payroll, I just looked up the payrolls for both Josh Hader and Blake Snell. It would be about between 20 and 30 million, pretty much between those two guys specifically. Juan Soto is a free agent in 2025 specifically. I feel personally, if you're the Padres, I would trade him now, because I feel like you might, if you wait, sometimes, we're going to talk about the big trade in the NBA a little bit down the road here in the show. But if you sometimes wait, if you're a team that might want to wait and try to get something back, you're not necessarily going to get possibly in terms of what you want. The more likely of getting a package, if like Juan Soto, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah, that happened with Ohtani. Yeah. The last two trade deadlines, that should have happened. Now that they're getting nothing for him. It's a cautious tale. I read real quick about Soto that this is pre-arbitration as well. So he's going to get more next season, just for next season too. So whomever, if you're saying that they're going to trade him away, they're going to have to pay that.
Yeah. So, and Jeff Passan on the podcast that I was watching from yesterday, Baseball Dead, which if you haven't gotten the chance to watch, make sure to watch. It's awesome. A lot of great fun content there. But he said that if he pretty much asks right now in terms of he's going to be gone or staying, he thinks that Juan Soto is going to go. And I think that he said specifically teams like the Mets, right? The Mets, Steve Cohen, all the money. I just feel like with Juan Soto and the Mets would be an awesome fit. And I just think that with Juan Soto, you got to obviously kind of look at teams that have pretty decent capital to be able to give up for a guy like a Juan Soto. Young talent, guys like a Brett Beatty or, some young prospect pitchers that maybe the Mets might have. It's going to take a lot. I mean, for the Red Sox, it'd be a dream of mine to get a guy like a Juan Soto. But, I think specifically we're trying to focus in on trying to get pitching. And obviously there was some that Alex Cora said today that hopefully that it's something where, Chris Sale's not going to be the starter for opening day next year because that's what he technically said. Typically, your managers don't say specifically who your opening day starter is going to be until the offseason. So, but I do have Isaiah Leon, without further ado, my other co-host for tonight. Isaiah, it's good to be on here with you always, my friend. I know last night I wasn't able to get the chance to go be on the extra point as I had to be up early to drive 2 hours and back for a 20-minute interview for a marketing job in Massachusetts. So yeah, that's pretty much why. But hopefully we're doing well, and we're obviously going through our MLB segment right now. So hope all is well, my friend.
What's up, guys? It's good to talk to you guys. I had a really bad morning this morning because I really woke up with the worst cramps in the world. So thank goodness I got that out of the way. But yeah, I mean, it's, great night to be with you guys. We had the Packers-Lions game, which was kind of a bore fest, to be honest with you. But the game that I was watching, to be honest with you guys, and that's why I got this jersey on right now, was Texas versus Seattle, because if the Rangers win right here, the Texas Rangers will clinch a playoff spot and will be one win away from clinching the American League West, which I predicted on our MLB preview show to start the year. So very exciting times, man. I can't wait for the playoffs. It's coming up next week, I think. And we got, a lot of great matchups this weekend, a lot of football this weekend. And also, potentially, we may have a shocking firing in baseball, maybe in the next couple of days. And also, I mean, that Dame Lillard trade, man, oh my God. We knew it was close to happening. There was reports that it was close to happening, but man, oh man, the place where he went. I mean, me and James, I think we went on a show and we talked about it, and we were throwing out places where, other than Miami, where Dame could go. But we thought about Milwaukee, but we were like, most likely it's not going to happen. But oh my God, I mean, and the NBA is just getting crazy, and the season hasn't even started yet.
Of course, and we'll talk more about the Dame Lillard stuff down the road here in the program. Isaiah, obviously, James and I talked a little bit of the playoff picture. We're not obviously going to get into our team reports. I think Tuesday, we kind of got through the rest of the regular season. You can put one for your Phillies in the playoffs if you want to. We'll say that for next week. And obviously, too, Isaiah, which you didn't mention, is I talked to James, is you told me off the air, we're going to do a batter up postseason special show next week. So hopefully for those that are watching tonight, make sure to tune into that. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff. I still remember, Isaiah, I picked the Cardinals to beat your Phillies in the wild card series. That, of course, blew up in my face. I actually had the Cardinals going to the World Series last year. And, of course, that was far from a given. So we'll see in terms of how my picks go this year. It should be a lot of fun. But in terms of this overall content we're talking right now, and obviously you could kind of talk about – we'll talk about the playoff picture with you too, Isaiah, after this. But The Padres shedding payroll, obviously, is kind of what we're talking at this moment. And I don't know if you saw the article a couple of days ago. The Padres obviously are in a ton of contracts where, AJ Preller and company are trying to kind of figure out. Juan Soto has his free agency in 2025, but there's been a lot of recent rumblings that he could be moved this offseason. Even Jeff Passan, I told James, there was a podcast I just watched yesterday, Baseball's Dead, and he literally put out that he believes Juan Soto is going to be gone this offseason. And I messaged you that off the air. Teams that essentially have a lot of prospect capital. I want to roll out a team like the Phillies. I want to roll out a team like the Mets. I want to even roll out a team like I'd love to see the Red Sox be in it, but the Giants. Obviously, the Giants are trying to really hit it out of the park after missing out on guys like Judge and Ohtani. What do you think specifically that the Padres, Isaiah, should do? Obviously, they're theoretically in the NL playoff picture as we speak right now. There has to be, of course, a lot of things for them to work out, but they're 3.5 games back. It felt like a far-fetched idea a couple weeks ago, but here we are. But regardless of the fact, what is your overall reaction to this latest article? And it shouldn't be coming as a shock to you.
My thoughts on it is that, number one, I'm not really that surprised because I just felt like that Soto, there has been a lot of issues with him and the Padres in the clubhouse this entire season. Like, they need to make a change. It just seems like with Juan Soto, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of superstars there, but it just seems like there's not a lot of chemistry in the clubhouse. And whether that's the chemistry between the players or even between manager Bob Melvin as well as general manager AJ Preller, there just seems to be like a fracture there between those two. And I just think that when you look at the Padres, obviously one of the more disappointing teams in baseball, they cannot afford that big contract that they're going to give to Juan Soto, because if they do, then they're going to be up to, I believe, $700 million in terms of payroll or something like that, or $700 million in terms of contracts between Soto, Bogarts, Darvish, Tatis as well.
Machado.
Like there's Machado, exactly. Like, there's so many bloated contracts there. So I don't think they'll even be able to afford it. But in terms of for the Padres, I just feel like there's some type of disconnect, and I just feel like for San Diego, they gotta fix that. They gotta get better chemistry. They definitely have to get better in terms of like fixing the relationship between Preller and Melvin. Is Melvin going to step down? There's talks that he could step down. There's talks that Preller may be gone. Like, there's just so many issues with the Padres. And in terms of the cutting payroll stuff, I'm not surprised. I think that for them to cut payroll, that means getting rid of Soto, most likely. That means getting rid of someone else or a lot more players. But it doesn't matter what you do on the field. What matters is what you do in terms of Melvin and Preller. I think it starts there, because when your GM and your head and your manager's not getting along, then that's the bigger issue. It starts at the top, and I think the Padres have to fix that. They cannot bring both Melvin and Preller back. I think they got to choose between one of those two, and then you start from the top, and then you move on downwards.
100% agree, and we'll see where this happens this offseason specifically. We'll talk a lot about Soto, Ohtani, pretty much after the World Series. We'll talk more about that unless something breaking happens before the playoffs start. Now, Isaiah, I will now ask you what I just asked James before he came on. I know obviously I asked you a couple days ago about the playoff picture. There really hasn't been a lot that's changed, but congratulations to the Baltimore Orioles. They are now the AL East American League champions. Listen, they're in my division, but I got to give them a round of applause. This has been a team that's been through hell and back. And I don't know if anybody of us picked the Orioles to win the division and are baseball prediction show. I don't think we did. I think I did have him going to the playoffs. I think I might have had the Blue Jays or the Rays or something like that.
I
But
think I did actually, because
okay.
we did 2 baseball preview shows. I think like when spring training first started, I think I just threw it out there that they'll win the division, and then somehow it ended up being correct. So I don't know, like those two with Baltimore and potentially Texas, if they don't blow this, that could be correct. But yeah, I mean it's truly crazy that they have won the division for sure.
Yeah. So, and I told James this that Brandon High should get candidacy for manager of the year. I think with what he's gone through since I don't know when he started there, probably a couple of years ago, but he's done a really good job, really helping a lot of guys that are young, and they just have a young group that's just going to keep on getting better and better and better. And for a team like the Orioles that is just growing, guys like Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jack Westberg, Kyle Bradish, Gene Kramer. They have a lot of young pitchers. If they be able to get a massive superstar, this team's going to be really scary in the years to come. I just think if they're just that superstar away, they have really good other guys. Cedric Mullins, a lot of really good players specifically. They're just that star away from really being scary for sure. But the thing about, I'll ask you, Isaiah, specifically, as we kind of look forward to next week in terms of the playoffs. Outside of the Atlanta Braves, and actually they asked Jeff Passan this today on the podcast or the day before. They asked him what could be this year's version of the Philadelphia Phillies, a team that kind of has that Cinderella type run, and he said the Milwaukee Brewers. I really think specifically I could see it in a way because you need to have really good pitching from top to bottom. They might have the best 3 pitchers coming into this playoffs with Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta. And I don't know specifically in terms of the just the lineup consistently, because the Phillies be able to their postseason playoffs were really, really good last year. So but yeah, I mean, all I gotta say is what you're kind of thinking specifically for a lot of these teams that in the AL and NL that are still trying to get in. How do you think it plays out before we kind of talk more about some other stuff baseball wise outside the playoff picture?
In terms of a team that can be the this year's Philadelphia Phillies, honestly, don't rule out the Phillies, because the Philadelphia Phillies, I mean, it looks like they are back to, what we thought of them as, a juggernaut. And the Philadelphia Phillies, this Phillies team may be better than last year's Phillies team. I mean, the bullpen is definitely better with Craig Kimbrough and Sir Anthony Dominguez there, and Matt Strom and Gregory Soto there as well. And then you look at that lineup. I mean, that lineup last year was loaded, and now this year's lineup is loaded, a lot of the same players, and you have Trey Turner there, and Bryson Stott has taken a step up, and Alec Boehm has taken a step up for sure. So, I mean, watch out for the Phillies. I know Nola hasn't really been that great this year, but Wheeler's been really good. Walker has been very good as of late. So definitely watch out for the Philadelphia Phillies. They could, repeat as this year's Cinderella team. But Ben and James, the team that I'm really looking forward to is the Miami Marlins. If they make the playoffs, I mean, they can be a scary bunch, because here's the thing. These teams with nothing to play for, with no expectations, and they just go out there and play for fun. I mean, they are definitely the scariest teams. We saw that last year with the Phillies. Sorry, I was watching the game, but we saw that last year with the Phillies. They had no expectations. Everybody was like, oh, the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be out in the first series. And then you saw what happened. They just had fun, and then they just surprised everybody. And the Marlins, they got a lot of young talent. Luis Arraez, they have Jorge Soler there, who has been swinging a very hot bat. The pitching led by Jesus Luzardo. I mean, I still cannot believe, fellas, that the A's gave up Jesus Luzardo. Like, how is that even like possible that you give up a guy in Luzardo who was a guy regarded as, your next ace, your next big thing, and you trade him for Starling Marte, who I like the guy, but I mean, you trade him for a rental, like really, like that just makes no sense whatsoever. And now he's just dominating with the Marlins. He's figured it out. I think Alcantara is not going to be there. Cabrera's not going to be there. Perez is not going to be there. That's a big blow. But the Marlins, besides Luzardo, still have some really good quality arms that I think could definitely help them a lot for sure. And I think that they definitely could make a run. And I think they definitely can make a run, and I could see Miami just being that team that could surprise a lot of folks in the National League, because they're going to be up against, most likely, if they make it, right, they'll be up against, who would they play? The Brewers?
Marlins, what are you talking about?
The Marlins.
They have the Pirates in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so if they beat the Pirates and they make the playoffs, would they play Milwaukee, or would they play Philadelphia?
So Philly right now, if the playoffs ended today, I looked at it a couple days ago, they would be playing the 5 seed, which would be the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
If the Brewers right now are the 3 seed, and the Cubs are now currently on Tuesday, they I think were the 6 seed. So obviously things could change about that, but they'd probably play Milwaukee as of right now if the Marlins got in. As we also have some breaking news in terms of the wild card picture. Isaiah, I saw in terms of what happened. So for those that don't know, the Rangers and Mariners obviously have a massive weekend series that just kicked off tonight. The Mariners were down 2-1, bases loaded. Chapman got 2 outs, but J.P. Crawford with a 2-out, 2-run single. So
on an 0-2
that's obviously
hit too.
Ooh, wow. Thank you guys for the updates. Obviously, we'll talk more about the rest of the weekend off the air. It's going to be awesome to see in terms of the NL and AL wildcard race. So, as we're obviously talking now, let me see what the Mariners' record was.
Ben, sorry to interrupt you, but I literally saw that play when I was giving my take about the Marlins, and I nearly just fell out of my.
I didn't want to spoil it for you either. That's why I didn't say anything.
I saw Gabe smile, and I was like, "Oh crap, let's do it."
So right now, looks like they got half a game. Because I think, did the Astros play it tonight, or
No.
were they off?
They were off.
They were off. Okay, so that makes sense. So, man, you got the Rays and you have the Blue Jays this weekend. You have the Houston Astros against the Diamondbacks this weekend, and where the Diamondbacks really need this series. You got the Mariners playing the Rangers. The Rangers obviously are trying to get the AL West, and the Mariners are trying to win this weekend series to try to get in the AL wildcard. So, you guys all got that? Hopefully, maybe. All I'll just say is embrace the chaos if it's not your favorite teams. Thankful I can just kind of sit back and not have to bite my nails and everything. Obviously it sucks with me and James's teams out of the playoffs, but it's what can you do right now? So, Isaiah, I did this game with James. We did a manager stay in and stay out type of thing in this offseason. And I wanted to obviously bring it to you tonight when we have the time to, because obviously I really won't talk about it next week with the playoffs coming up. So I mentioned a couple names to James. I'm trying to remember specifically all of them that I had. And pretty much I'm just going to go through a list with you. Basically, stay or go. Obviously, James, if you want to chime in by any means on any of these other guys as well, by all means, that's fine. But here were the names specifically that I mentioned to James. One was Olivier Marmol. Number 2 was Aaron Boone. Bud Black from the Rockies. Gabe Kapler. I don't think I mentioned maybe that on Tuesday. The White Sox manager, I forgot his name,
Pedro
but I
Griffin.
think yes, we didn't talk about him, James, on Tuesday. And then
Bob Melvin, of course.
Bob Melvin, yeah, but I think
Buck
he's gonna stay.
Showalter.
Buck Showalter, he's gonna stay. But I'll go through Olivia Marmol first, Isaiah. Obviously, the Cardinals had a really disappointing season this year. I don't think many people expected them to finish where they were. Do you think he's going to stay or go?
I think he's going to be fired. I think that
Okay.
for the Cardinals, they're on pace to lose 92 games. And that is not that is well below St. Louis Cardinals standards. I don't think they've had a 90 loss season in like 10, 15 years. I mean, it's been like so long since they've lost 90 plus games. And the Cardinals have just been out of sync this entire season. Offensively, when the offense is doing great, the pitching sucks. When the pitching is great, the offense can't hit, and it just seems like there's been a lot of disconnect in the clubhouse this entire season. And I just don't think Marmol should have been hired to begin with. I know last year they made the playoffs, but I feel like he's like the Clay Helton of MLB, where he's a subpar coach, just a product of the talent. And I just don't think he should have been hired. I mean, they had a great manager there in Mike Shildt. They fired him because the GM and him didn't get along, and they fired Shildt, and then they hired Marmol basically as like a yes man to the manager. And I just don't think he should have been Schultz should have been fired, and I don't think Marmol should have been hired to begin with. I don't like the choice. I thought they should have, if they had wanted to go with a replacement for Marmol, for a Schilt, I thought it should have been Joe Girardi or Joe Madden or one of those experienced managers instead of Marmol, who had no experience. He was the youngest manager in all of baseball. I just didn't think it made sense. And I think that you see it right now. Like the Cardinals, there's so much chaos going on, so much drama going on, and you can't fix it just by making moves in the off season with player personnel. You got to fix it with the guy that is leading this clubhouse, and that is Oli Marmol. So I think after the season, I think he'll be fired because when you're 22 games under 500 potentially, 92 loss season potentially, that is well below Cardinal standards.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see specifically in terms of what happens to him. The next guy I didn't mention it in the list was Phil Nevin, obviously on James's Angels. We kind of talked about it on Tuesday. What do you think about what will happen with Phil Nevin?
I think he'll be out. His contract, I think, runs out on Monday, I believe it is. He was just a temporary manager. I don't think they should have brought him back after last year, but they just did because they thought they were going to sell the team, and there was going to be a lot of transition going on. So I think that's why they've only brought him back, but I don't think he should have been hired to begin with. It just made no sense. He was just a puppet, a figurehead to begin with. And you look at this Angels team. I mean, this Angels team might be rebuilding by the time we start next year, because we could potentially see Trout and Ohtani being out, and then we could potentially see a new manager as well as potentially a new GM in the front office. So there's going to be a lot of changes this offseason for the Angels. If I'm the Angels, and believe it or not, James might really disagree with me, if I'm the Angels right now, I would hire Joe Madden back to run the front office. I really would, because I don't think Joe Madden should have been fired to begin with. I thought that this was Perry Manazian saying, you know what, it's my new way of doing things. It's my analytical way of doing things. Artie Moreno never wanted to fire Joe Madden. He only did it because he gave Perry Manazian the case to make baseball decisions. Remember, Artie and Joe Madden are best friends. So I would not be shocked if Artie hired Joe Madden back, like the White Sox hired Tony La Russa back to be like a consultant or whatever role he is right now. But I mean, I think for the Angels, I mean, it was never really Madden's fault. Like, he was never really given a roster to succeed with. And so I think if I'm the Angels right now, I would make Madden not only my manager, but I honestly would make Madden the president of baseball operations. I know James is shaking his head, but that's an Artie Moreno move. He loves Joe Madden like he did with Mike Scioscia. I would not be shocked if he cleans house and brings Madden in to run both.
Ben, can I
just don't know
respond to that crap?
I was going to say one thing, and then obviously you can respond back. I think specifically the Angels have to go younger at the managing position. They've obviously gotten a lot of veterans at this point in time, especially too, if Trout and Ohtani are gone. I'd rather go with someone that's younger so they can kind of start with the new era of Angels baseball. I mean, personally, I think you get, front office that's a lot younger. Obviously not everyone younger, but specifically a young front office specifically, I think could kind of help them to build kind of back, from ground up. That's usually kind of the way it usually goes.
Underground.
Yeah.
Listen,
what were we gonna say?
Joe Madden. Look, now he has like a lot of beef with the Angels organization. I've heard him on, his people brought him on like podcasts and shows, and he's gonna write a book, and he's just had nothing but bad things to say about the organization he basically grew up with, in his baseball career, coaching wise. So I don't think there'll be a reunion at all. The fans don't want one. I don't see that happening. For me, I want Ron Washington. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't think he wants to manage again. But I think that would shape people up. But the thing is, I like what Ben mentioned, and it was the other option that I have. If you don't go with Washington, you go with someone younger, then possibly someone within the organization, in the minor leagues, maybe the AAA manager, maybe bring up a AA manager just to work with those players that are now up with the team, all the young guys. So that would be the second option. And then the third is just screw it. Someone young and analytical that will do what the front office tells them to do, and then nothing will change basically. So I think they're screwed any other way, every way, honestly.
All right. We talk about two managers from the Big Apple, Aaron Boone and Buck Showalter. Now I think that Aaron Judge kind of really spoke highly of Aaron Boone like the last couple weeks, really fondly. So I don't think specifically that Boone's gonna go. I think really specifically Boone is not, the answer, but I think that players really still value him. I think it's just their front office making these decisions to try to go younger. And I felt like for the Yankees, it was too little too late. For the Mets, it pretty much started downhill ever since the Edwin Diaz injury in the World Baseball Classic. They really weren't able to kind of get back on the hill, I guess you can say, to start the regular season. And it kind of just went downhill from there ever since with injuries and just inconsistent play. So, Isaiah, do you think specifically any of the managers between the Yankees or the Mets go?
I think Showalter will be gone because of their new president of baseball ops, David Stearns, being inserted in there to run the New York Mets. He's going to want his own guy. Him and Buck, their baseball philosophies definitely are different. David Stearns, analytical guy. Buck Showalter, old school baseball guy. It's just different. I don't think they have any beef. It's just that their philosophies are different, and they're just not going to be able to win together. So I think Buck honestly is gone. I think that when it's all said and done, I really think that Craig Counsell will be the new manager of the New York Mets because he's David Stern's guy from their time with the Brewers. They have a great relationship, and he basically is what he's basically is everything that David Stearns wants in a manager. So I think that Buck is gone. Aaron Boone is tough because I don't think it's his fault, but I think that they should have a change because when you have the season that they did, missing the playoffs for the first time in like 7 years, potentially being under 500 for the first time since 1992. I mean, like that is just really embarrassing, and it's not Yankee standards. And we talked about the Cardinals being well below their standards. The Yankees, if they fall under 500, that's going to be well below Yankee standards. So I do think for the Yankees, I do think that the Yankees should make a move because they definitely need a scapegoat. You're not going to fire Brian Cashman. The easiest scapegoat will be Aaron Boone, but I'm kind of like 50-50 on that one. But I think for Buck Showalter, I really think he's gone because of the new president of baseball ops, David Stearns.
Okay. And the last two, I guess you'd say, Bud Black. Even though personally, I think he's going to probably stay because the Rockies really don't have a lot they really have specific. I mean, they paid a lot of money to Chris Bryant. He's not the same guy he used to be. Obviously, he's really injury prone now. So I don't think he's going to go unless they find something that's a lot younger. For the White Sox specifically, though, they're a complete dumpster fire mess. I mean, I would love potentially if they were the Red Sox to maybe take a look at a guy like a Dylan Cease. Maybe Luis Robert could be available via trade. I'm not sure specifically, but the White Sox are not in a position right now where I don't think that they can be able to keep their manager long term. And plus, too, I mean, Tony La Russa trying to go back into becoming the front office makes absolutely no sense.
Bud Black, I think, will stay because the Colorado Rockies cannot get any manager better than Bud Black. So I do think he's going to stay. Plus, I mean, he has a great relationship with the front office. So, and plus, they don't have any expectations to begin with anyway. So I think that ultimately he'll stay. In terms of the White Sox manager, Pedro Grifol should have never been hired to begin with. That hire made absolutely no sense whatsoever. To start with, you have a team that is gonna try to compete for the playoffs, a team that has a lot of talent still with Tim Anderson, Dylan Cease, they had Liam Hendricks, they have Jimenez, they have Luis Robert. I mean, they have a lot of talent, and I thought they just needed the right voice in the clubhouse. That's why I thought they should have brought in a Bruce Bochy or a Joe Girardi that has the experience to be that championship caliber manager, but they didn't do it, and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Grifol, why would you hire a guy? First of all, why would you hire a first-year manager? That makes no sense. And secondly, why would you hire, if you're going to hire a first-year manager, why are you hiring him from the Kansas City Royals, a team that lost 100 games when he was there with their old manager, Mike Matheny? It just makes no sense whatsoever. The White Sox decision-making has been garbage the last 10, 15 years. Every move that they've made, it just seems like it's the wrong decision. It just makes no sense. They should never have hired La Russa. It should have been either A.J. Hinch or your guy, Alex Cora, Ben. And then you look at the Grifol hiring, it should have been Girardi or Madden. Instead, they went with a first-year manager, bench coach from the Royals to lead their team, and there was just a lot of chaos in that clubhouse. So I think he should be gone. But unfortunately, though, I think he will stay because Tony La Russa really likes him, and the owner really likes him, and it just makes no sense that they're gonna keep him. But I mean, that's the White Sox for you, and whatever move that they make, it just seems to be the wrong decision.
100% agree. And we'll talk more about the managers probably after the season, but I did kind of want to get an early glimpse of some guys that could be on the move. So that's it right now for our baseball segment.
Ben,
Quickly, as if you want to say something.
there is one guy I want to add because if you had asked me about him like a couple weeks ago, I probably would have said no way. But there's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of players calling this guy out and the direction of the clubhouse, as well as today there was some very interesting comments by his GM, and that is Gabe Kapler. I think that if you had asked me a couple of weeks ago, I don't think Gabe Kapler would have been fired. But after the recent events from Logan Webb saying, "Oh, there needs to be big changes," like you never hear that from a player, like a player calling
especially
out.
an ace too.
Yeah, you're one of your best players calling out the direction of the clubhouse, saying, "Oh, there needs to be big changes." Mike Yastrzemski had some similar comments saying that there needs to be some big changes made. And then today, Farhan Zaidi, when asked a couple weeks ago, I guess the president of the Giants was asked if Gabe Kapler and if Farhan Zaidi would be back. He said, "Yeah, of course, they would definitely be back." But then today, what was really interesting is Farhan Zaidi made comment on his local radio show or on a radio show saying that when asked if Kapler would be back, he never answered yes or no. He just said that Kapler, we're going to take a look at everything in the organization. And I thought that was very interesting because if you're committed to bring him back, you would say, yeah, he's definitely coming back. But after the recent comments, after now you have local beat writers saying that Gabe Kapler should be fired, none of this stuff comes without any fire. And I think that you wouldn't see the Giants beat reporters putting this out there or players echoing this, or now Zaidi coming out and saying we're going to take a look at everything. I think there's a real good chance that Gabe Kapler could be fired by the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, 100% agree. This is obviously a team that's really underperformed under him for a couple of years now. And we'll see where things go from here. Let's transit over to our NFL segment. Week 4 obviously is upon us with the Thursday night football game that transpired this evening between the Lions and the Packers, NFC North division foe. I didn't get the chance to do our picks last night on the extra point because obviously I wasn't there. So I will obviously have it for tonight. Isaiah, obviously, I didn't get the chance to watch the show, but I will try to plan to watch the extra point show from last night. I bet you guys did a really good job. Now, in terms of this game specifically, and obviously it was on my other pod during that show, as at least for the first half, right? And the spreads, which I do for my other show, the spread was, I think, the Lions at -3. So it was planning to be a game where it was going to be close, like within NFC North battle. But the Lions go into Lambeau Field, where the Lions under Dan Campbell, guys, have won the last 4 games against the Green Bay Packers. And I probably should have taken this into account when I was thinking of this game specifically. But this is a statement specifically for the Lions, and I picked them to win the division this year. There's just something magical about this team specifically this year that I think that they're really for real. And I think that they really showed it tonight. And I think that with them playing really well against the Packers the last couple of times now, they're not afraid from terms of what's ahead. The Packers don't have Aaron Rodgers anymore. The Vikings seem very beatable, specifically on both sides of the ball. They don't know specific. I mean, they're 0-3 right now. So, I mean, I'll ask you guys, at least right now specifically, your reactions to this game and your feel for the Packers side in terms of the loss. I mean, Jordan Love had an awful first half, but the second half, like he did against the Saints where he pulled it out. This game, Christian Watson, Aaron Jones came back. Watson had a touchdown in this game, but they were playing from catch-up from a lot of this game. If you're the Packers side, you can't expect to keep on playing catch-up week in, week out. The Lions did a really good job tonight with their running game. Jared Goff only had 1 touchdown, but he did throw a pick. But David Montgomery, that offensive line for the Lions is really, really good. Montgomery had 3 touchdowns in this game. So I'll start with Isaiah. I know, obviously, I was hearing your video where you said you turned off this game kind of early on in the first half, and the Packers kind of made it a game in the second half. But really, the Lions made a statement, and with them essentially showing from the last 4 wins they've had against them here, they're for real.
This game was a snooze fest, Ben and James, to be honest. I said at halftime that I turned this game off because it was 27-3. It looked like everything was going the Lions' way. It looked like the Packers just didn't show up to play. And I honestly turned it off and was watching Rangers-Mariners instead of this second half of this game because that's how boring it was. But credit to the Packers for trying to fight back and come back. But sadly, my biggest takeaways from this game is that, number one, that Detroit offensive line, man, they are a bunch of monsters. Man, these guys just went into Green Bay, went into Lambeau Field and just completely pushed around the Green Bay Packers and made it seem like they were the top dogs in that division and also in that rivalry. I mean, it was just crazy how much push they were getting. The Lions running game, David Montgomery, he was getting a lot of massive holes to run through this entire game. Jared Goff didn't really have to do too much because the running game was just so effective. The defense definitely impacted Jordan Love and just made him very, very uncomfortable. And I know I said that Jordan Love is special. I know I said that Jordan Love, he's the answer for the Packers, and he definitely is the answer, but he looked lost tonight. I mean, they were throwing out some crazy blitzes that he had never seen before. He looked scared in the pocket with Aiden Hutchinson coming full steam ahead on him. He really looked like he just wasn't comfortable, and credit to the Lions defense, credit to the running game, credit to Dan Campbell and the Lions for coming out strong in this game. But I think the game really came down to a boneheaded penalty by Quay Walker. I mean, this dude, you had a field goal. You had a field goal, which it would have been good, but then it was a stupid penalty. The Lions get the ball back, and they end up driving for a touchdown, and that basically put the game right there. Yeah, and it made it 34-17. Yep. Instead, I believe it would have been
13.
Yeah, it would have been a 13-point game with about 8 minutes left. With the way the Green Bay offense was playing, I mean, they could have definitely had a chance to score, and it would have been more of a game. So that Quay Walker penalty really, really killed the Green Bay Packers. It was a boneheaded move by Quay Walker. I don't know what he was thinking when he committed that penalty. It just made no sense. But credit goes to the Lions. I mean, the Lions look like right now that they just own the Green Bay Packers. They've won 4 games in a row against the Packers. And remember how Aaron Rodgers screamed, "I own you," when it came to the Bears? Jared Goff should do that with the Lions because the Lions own the Packers right now.
Yeah, 100% agree. And the Quay Walker mistake is pretty much a recap of the Packers' inconsistencies with their special teams. They've always struggled year in, year out. Even with the Rodgers days in Green Bay, their special teams was a disaster. Remember, of course, Isaiah with your Niners going into Lambeau Field. The Packers had a couple, special teams errors that really affected them a couple years ago in the NL wildcard game. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been the division game. Rodgers, it was a low-scoring game in that first half. The San Francisco 49ers, I think, got a special team mistake there. They've just been awful, special teams specifically. Let's go through the stat lines here with Jared Goff and Jordan Love. Goff was 19-28, 210 for a touchdown and a pick. Jordan Love, 23 of 36, 246, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He obviously wasn't a typical Jordan Love game despite the results. Christian Watson did have a touchdown scoring for the Packers. Aaron Jones was really quiet in this game, only 5 rushes for 18 yards. David Montgomery was a monster. He's actually had a touchdown every game he's played so far. He had 3 touchdowns tonight, only 3.8 yards average a rush, but it's pretty much a lot of goal line touchdowns where the Lions did really well. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had a touchdown. And another guy, too, that's kind of been flown under the radar now for the Lions, their tight end, Sam Laporta. And I don't really know specifically a lot about him, but I'm looking just at his stats. And he's had five or plus more targets outside of tonight's game, but he's had 50-plus yards in 3 of the 4 games. So the Lions, specifically under Dan Campbell, between Goff and a lot of their receiving, players, their running game with their offensive line, they're a team specifically that's going to be fun for the rest of the season. I can't wait. In terms of the Packers, they're 2-2. They have the Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football coming up, and then for the Lions, they'll be having in Week 5 against the Panthers. James, I'll go to you. What's your reaction to this game?
Yeah, looking at Laporta, he caught a lot of clutch of those catches. Some were clutch third down catches, first down catches. Really important. Green Bay, I had to keep this stat, but they had 1 yard after 1 quarter. That's how bad their offense was. It was kind of a tale of 2 halves with their offense. it's really unfortunate for Jordan Love. I'm thinking about, you know, how bad that first half was, but yeah, he did come back and have a good second half. But it seemed like, man, Hutchison got in there a lot. The interior line got in there a lot. I'm forgetting his name, but the one player that had a big, not big defensive stop, but a defensive run stop, and then a sack right after for the Lions here, 54. Okay, let me get his name. Not Jack Campbell. Let's see. Alan McNeil. He was a former Giant, and it looks like he's playing big up front. I mean, this dude, he was making plays there. It was really good to see, and because all you heard about was Hutchinson, but they actually have others on the Detroit defense. It's really good, but they're not well known. But their offensive line protected Goff fairly well. Amon St. Brown caught some clutch passes, as well as Josh Reynolds. It's funny how Reynolds and Goff, they knew each other from LA. And if Woods wasn't open, or Higbee wasn't open, or Kupp wasn't open, Brandon Cooks wasn't open, they would go to Josh Reynolds, the fourth on the depth chart. And so they have a good rapport with each other. That was really good to see. The horrible thing, too, about Green Bay, their run defense was awful. The 3 touchdowns that Montgomery had, they were really close, close to the goal line, but the holes were so wide open for Montgomery to go through. I mean, really, really nice job to seal the defenders away by the O-line of Detroit. That was really good to see. I kind of feel bad for Love, his second home start, and you could tell the crowd was restless, but I hope they understand. It's like, okay, that's not Brett Favre, that's not Aaron Rodgers, that's just Jordan Love. He's going to need time. It's not going to be a right away fix. It's not going to be like that. Aaron Jones, he was 5 and 18. Dylan 5 for 11. Dylan hasn't done much. I wouldn't be shocked. Well, if the Packers are desperate, I don't know if they're desperate enough. You remember the rumors about Jonathan Taylor. Maybe they make that trade. Maybe they do that to provide some spark as the weather gets colder. If Love isn't protected as much. I know they don't have what the left tackle name? I forget, David Bakhtiari.
Bakhtiari is out for 4 weeks.
Bakhtiari, yeah.
He's on the IR, so that's massive.
You could tell they're missing him. You could really tell that they're missing him up front. And then another one got hurt today, Joe Runyon. But he came back in the game, but he wasn't the same. He was getting beat a lot on the line. And then Bakhtiari's replacement was getting beat a lot. And then Hutchison was always on that side. So it's just funny because the Lions have kind of owned, like Isaiah said, they kind of own the Packers as of late. Packers have their way with the Bears, but the Lions have their ways with the Packers. It's just funny how things go. It's just two teams going in different directions maybe this year. I think I had the Lions this year as well in the NFC North, but I was really cautious too because maybe they were throwing too much at them. But right now they look really good, the Lions. And I was looking up their schedule coming up, and it looks like they can win every game that they have coming up for the next up until their bye. They have a really good, easy. To me, it's an easy schedule that they have coming up. They have the Raiders, I think the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Bears, the Ravens, and I think they could beat all those teams. I really do. So I think more wins will come for Detroit.
Yeah, I got them at like 10, 11 wins when it's all said and done. So, I mean, with their good offensive line, just with their good play calling that's been all year, they've been a fun story. All right, guys. But that being said, now we're going to get to our rest of our week 4 picks. I think I was doing obviously the picks with my other group tonight, and it's a slate where a lot of division games are happening. So that should be really exciting. We will start with the London game, the first London game of the season. The 2-1 Falcons will be traveling to Wembley Stadium against the Jaguars. The Jaguars guys, this is like their third time overseas. If you remember, they played against the Dolphins. They played against the Broncos. Both games, I believe that they won. So I think that this trend keeps on continuing. I got the Jaguars in this one. What about you, Isaiah?
Go ahead, James.
Okay, I'll be asleep during this game, and I think everybody else will be because I don't want to watch this game probably. I have to believe Jacksonville. And I said that last week about them that they can recover and win again. Maybe they feel at home in London. I'm gonna say Jacksonville wins, but I want to see Atlanta get back to the running game, and I want to see Drake London get his catches. I want to see Ritter play better. Last week they had an off week. Jacksonville had an off week. Maybe both get fired up to have a better game, but I'm gonna go Jacksonville.
I'm gonna complete the sweep and go with Jacksonville too. I think the Jags get their season turned around after that embarrassing loss against the Houston Texans last week. Their defense got shredded. Trevor Lawrence did not look comfortable as well at all in that game. The thing with the Falcons is they're a really good running team. But when you force them to throw the football, Desmond Ritter does not look comfortable and he does not look good. And also, I don't really trust their defense, honestly. I think their defense leaves a lot to be desired, and I think that this is the game that Trevor Lawrence is going to get right and actually have a really good game and play like that MVP candidate that I think he can play. So give me the Jags. The Jags always play a lot of London games. They're very comfortable with that stadium. I think the Jags win this game, and I think they win it by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, right now the line is Jacksonville at -3. I think they definitely will cover that for sure. This game, the spread is the Bills and the Dolphins. The Bills right now are 2.5 favorites, but this is going to be the game of the weekend, guys. It's going to be an epic shootout. Miami is essentially riding off the hot hand of potentially the team right now that's a force to be reckoned with. You look at just the league rankings I'm looking at right now. The Dolphins are averaging 40 points a game. The Bills are averaging around 30 points a game. So, I mean, the over-unders in terms of total points is going to be crazy. Now, the Bills' defense has actually been pretty good as of late. They really kind of held that Commander team in check. The Commanders really had their game where essentially they were so-called potentially pretenders because it was a reality check, right? They played the Broncos, they played the Cardinals, two really close games. I really had to see how they did against the Bills, and they just got slaughtered. But man, this could go either way. I wish this was the Sunday night game after no Rodgers for the Jets against the Chiefs. This would have been awesome Sunday night fireworks. But with that being said, I'm going to watch it. It's going to be awesome. Give me the Bills. I think that with this one, it's going to be like a 40-37 game. You know, the Dolphins without Ramsey, obviously, I think that he's going to be almost coming back soon. It's been a massive blow for Vic Fangio's defense. The Bills' defense is really starting to step up. They only gave up 3 points this past weekend. I know the Raiders offensively, sorry, James, specifically is very inept, especially their offensive line. But I'm going to go with the Bills here. They're at home with their fans, division game. It's going to be close. It could be a coin flip, but I'm going to go Buffalo. What do you think, James?
I'm definitely going to be watching this game. I'm not going to be stuck with oh God, what are the games in my local area that I don't want to watch?
So speaking of the local games, sorry to cut you off. There are a lot of games now with the Bears Broncos, like regionally in terms of the 506 network, that are going to be officially switching to that Dolphins Bears game. So some of the states maybe that originally maybe have had that Broncos Bears game might be switching over to that. And I think that I'm supposed to get this Dolphins Bills game anyway, but for a lot of the regional fans around, it's good. It's definitely good for viewership. So
Yeah, I know here I have, because I'm out here, sadly, I'll have the single game with the Rams and the Raiders and Chargers later, but I'm stuck with the Rams and Colts and Arizona, San Francisco. Yay! God, that's horrible.
You get to watch Brock Purdy. What are you talking about?
No, I'd rather watch Tua and Allen. Oh my God!
If you have Red Zone, I mean, Red Zone might have it too.
I found a way.
Okay.
If I have to cut some cords, I'll get it.
This
is the only morning game I want to see. Honestly, we'll get through them, but I want to see if Miami can just keep the track meet going. I want to see if the running game can do what they did against Denver, if they could do it against Buffalo, and then also Buffalo's defense would have to play better. Jalen Waddle, I'm guessing Ben will be back as well.
He's expected. He just cleared concussion protocols today. And
okay.
So he's now expected to be back after the Dolphins, though he just put up 70 points on the hopeless, then Josephless fireball offense defense that Denver Broncos have, but that's another story for another day. But yes, continue.
I'm gonna go Miami. I just feel like it's gonna continue, and plus the weather's in their favor. Remember last year they met
really nice.
15 or 16, whenever it was
December. It was in the snow. Yeah,
it was like snow flurries, and it stopped. Then it came back at the worst time for the Miami Dolphins late in the game. That was a fun game, but you really couldn't see what they could do, and especially without Tua. Now they have Tua. I think that's going to be the game changer. Buffalo's kind of up and down, and even at home, that could change. For now, I'm going to go with Miami.
And you, Isaiah, for this game, potentially that will be the game of the weekend, which I think for many people it will. Dolphins or Bills?
I agree. I think this game is going to be one hell of a game. I'm looking forward to it. I get off work at 10 in the morning, and I'm going to go right to the casino and watch that game because that's going to be one hell of a game, man. I cannot wait for this game. The Dolphins scored 70 last week, and the Buffalo Bills scored, I believe, 37. So this is going to be like 45-41. It's going to be a track meet. It's going to be like Colorado versus TCU week season opening game. I mean, it's going to be one hell of a game, and you're going to just see a lot of offense, not a lot of defenses, because I don't think either of these two defenses can stop the opposing team's high-powered offense. So give me Miami. I'm going to go with Miami, but I'm going to go with Miami winning this game. And here's the score prediction, fellas. 45-42. I think that's the game that we're going to see. It's going to be touchdown after touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. And it's going to come down to whoever gets just one stop wins this football game.
And I think this game could have overtime feel too. I mean, it's going to be that type of feel. So I'm excited to see that game for sure. Now the next game is going to be potentially the complete opposite. A very low-scoring, dumpster fire, 0-3 Van Joseph defense. Broncos who just gave up 70 points, and the Chicago Bears, who essentially don't know their equipment. They can't get their equipment right. They can't get their offense right. They can't get their defense right. Their coachings can't get right. Just two teams that essentially just can't get it right. But with that being said, one team has to win. Because obviously I think that you have Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. I had to comically guess what they're showing in terms of the spread, because I know the spread is Broncos at 3.5. The Bears definitely going to cover that 3.5, but it's because both teams are so bad. Yeah, but give me the Broncos here. The Bears are just, as somebody else on my other show said, the Bears are just that comically bad. So, what do you think, Isaiah?
Give me the Broncos. I think this is going to be the start of the Broncos turning their season around. I think Russell Wilson looks good. Both teams don't play defense. Let's face it. The Chicago
Yeah.
Bears defense is god awful. The Denver Broncos defense, I don't think would even be able to stop Colorado. To be honest with you, with how poorly they play on defense. Vance Joseph, like I told Laurel last night, he should have never been hired to begin with. Like, you pick between Vance Joseph and Rex Ryan for your defensive coordinator position, and you go with the guy that defense was literally ranked second to last in the NFL last year. The Arizona Cardinals were ranked 31st in total defense in the NFL, and you say, gee, I'll pick that guy over Rex Ryan. Like, come on, man. That's just a really bad decision by Sean Payton. Give me Denver. I think Denver wins it just because I think they have the better offense than the Chicago Bears. I think Justin Fields will be able to get it together a little bit, but I think it's going to come down to the offensive weapons. Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Sean Payton calling the plays. That offense will roll in this game, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. But give me the Broncos to win this game like 33 to like 23.
We'll see how it goes. James?
Yeah, what's the okay, here it is. I wanted to see the total points in this game. This is 46. I feel like it's going to be less. Definitely with the
Under.
Or under, I should say. I definitely think it's going to be under than that.
Yeah.
I can't see the Bears doing much. I think the Broncos get right and win this game. This might be Justin Fields' maybe his last start. Who really knows? And it's funny. We had that show before the season. And I said, I think it was me and Ben, and it was like a hot, cold, and icy take or something like that. And I think the craziest take I had was like Justin Fields will be benched by either week 4 or week 5, and who knows, it could happen after this game.
That's very well a reality now at this point. I mean, it's just that bad. I don't know where this team goes, and we'll talk probably next show in terms of some of the teams essentially that could be, Matt Lombardi, an NFL guy. I was talking about some guys that could be on the move. A lot of guys for the Bears could already be on the move, specifically. And a little hint: Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, some guys, for example, like that. All right, AFC North battle: Ravens and Browns. Now the Ravens obviously are coming off a overtime loss last week against the Colts. The Browns are coming off a blowout win against the Titans. Obviously, Nick Chubb is now out right now for the season. Jerome Ford came in his place and scored 2 touchdowns last week. Deshaun Watson had a decent game. But with that being said, the Browns obviously have a very good defense this year. But I think that the Ravens are going to get some pieces back. They were pretty much injured last week. They were injured a lot last year too. But I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think they bounce back and win. What do you think, James?
Well, there were some shots being taken, but Roquan Smith said they're going to go over to Cleveland. He's a Raven. He's going to go over there and beat their tails in front of their wives and kids. It's like, but I think the Ravens win the game despite all that. If these were the 2000 Ravens, you would just let them in the building and let them do whatever they want and take the win and go home. But I think the Browns make it a good game. No, you know what? I'm going to go Cleveland. I'm going to switch my pick.
Right.
I think Cleveland works together and gets it done. I know it was bad weather, but Lamar Jackson got hurried and pressured and sacked a lot against that Colts defense. They let the Colts win. Browns looked fairly good this year or last week. I know it was against Tennessee, but I'm going to go Cleveland.
Okay. What about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to agree with James. Give me the Cleveland Browns. I actually don't know what it is about the Cleveland Browns this season that it just seems like everything has been put together very nicely. They're running the ball very well. Deshaun Watson doesn't have to do too much right now, even though last game he made that really awful play where he backpedaled, and just do it right. I believe he just threw it right to the guy, and like I don't understand what he was doing there. But other than that, I mean, he hasn't really been doing bad. I think that he'll shake off the rust, and I think he'll start playing like the Deshaun Watson of old, like we know of. And I think that when you look at that defense, Jim Schwartz got that defense playing some really good football right now. And the thing with the Ravens is right now Lamar Jackson still has not shown me that he's an adequate good thrower of the football. And I think that once you stop that running game, you force Lamar to throw the football. It looks wild, and it looks very inaccurate and very ineffective. So give me the Browns. This is going to be a close game because this is a division game, and both of these two teams always play each other very tough. But give me the Browns. I think the Browns end up coming away with a victory, a late victory, and to give Cleveland that win.
Yeah, right now the Browns are a 3-point favorite, so it's obviously going to probably come down to within a score or two. Next game, the battle of 1 and 2s. The Cincinnati Bengals will be playing against the Tennessee Titans. The Bengals got a win, 19-16. That was more a defensive win for the Bengals. The Titans are coming off a blowout loss against the Browns. The Titans, I just don't believe in right now. Think Derrick Henry's probably gonna get traded. He just doesn't seem like the same guy he once was. They have this other kid, Spears, I think is the running back one that's been taking over the carries. The Titans really rely on Henry, and Ryan Tannehill is a name that I would not be shocked that could get moved this at the trade deadline. I just think specifically the Titans have a lot of question marks, top to bottom. So that being said, and I know obviously with the Bengals, they've really struggled offensively. Their defense looked really good last week. I think that they're going to be able to win specifically. If they can get their offense going still, I think that would be good. But I think that the Bengals are going to pull out in this game. I know Joe Burrow, obviously, he still has not been 100%. And it was funny enough, on my other show, I had another buddy of mine saying the same thing. Why is Joe Burrow still playing in terms of with this specific injury right now if he's not 100%? And I know that there's a devil's advocate way in terms of it. I think that the Bengals view Burrow like a 75% Burrow better than any of their other options out there right now. But obviously, you don't want to obviously have this linger, so it could be a long-term type thing. Plus, you got that massive extension already. So, but I still think regardless, the Bengals can still run the football. They could, go out the play action. The Bengals, obviously, their offense played a really tough run on the Rams. I think that the Titans' defense isn't as good. So there might be some opportunities where the Bengals could throw over the top, and they can find those explosive plays that they've been missing for a while. Give me the Bengals to win. What about you, Isaiah?
Ooh, this is gonna be, I think, a really tight contest. Give me the Bengals. Give me the Bengals because, Joe Burrow's not healthy. I don't know why he's still playing. I just have this, like I've been telling you guys, I have this bad fear that something really bad is going to happen to Joe Burrow if he keeps playing on this. Because these cap injuries that you guys know, they just never end good. And if you keep playing on it, you're just going to weaken it more and more and more until the doomsday situation happens and your Achilles ends up popping. So I don't think Joe Burrow should be playing, but he is. But give me Cincinnati. I think the Titans will they'll definitely hold in for a little bit, but then that defense is going to break because Ryan Tannehill, he is just not a good quarterback, and the defense for the Bengals has been really strong this season. They're going to zone in on Derrick Henry. They're going to stop Derrick Henry. They're going to force Tannehill to throw the football, and then he's not going to be able to, and he's going to turn the football over. I actually think James and Ben, and I got a hot take for this game, I think we'll see Will Levis in this game. I think it's going to get really bad to the point where Ryan Tannehill throws a couple of interceptions and they yank him, and then they see what they have in Will Levis, in the second half of this game. So give me the Bengals, but I do think we see the debut of Will Levis, and I think that Cincinnati wins it close.
Kind of like that last week game with the Bengals. Really close, convincing. It might be ugly, but they're gonna probably get to 2-2. What do you think, James, between the Bengals and the Titans here?
Damn, I agree with Isaiah with Will Levis being brought in after Tannehill throws 2 picks. I think the Bengals win this game pretty easy. I think it all starts up front with the defense. I mean, Hendrickson had a big game along with Herbert.
Really good.
Monday night they made Stafford run around and get sacked. Really, it's a lot. So the Bengals defense, I think, will single-handedly win this game pretty easily. Tennessee, you mentioned Ben, and it's bad too because of Henry's not doing so well. It's bad because they won't get as much back, and if anything, they, it could be a release situation. Who knows? But I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. But it's funny to think like these two faced off in the playoffs like not too long ago, and both are kind of in football hell. But Cincinnati can climb out of it with this win on Sunday, I think.
We'll see about that one. The Rams, they just had a close loss against the Bengals. They're going to go to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Colts. The Colts are coming off a impressive win. Anthony Richardson last Colts last week against the Ravens. Right now, it seems like Anthony Richardson has a potential chance to play in this one. It looks like he maybe can clear concussion protocols this week. But with that being said, give me the Rams. I think that the Rams are going to win a close one here. Colts obviously still have a lot of questions quarterback-wise. No Jonathan Taylor still. I just like that defense in the Rams. I still really do. Sean McVay, though, that's a guy I'm going to be watching all season because his game managing against the Bengals was god-awful. Not a lot of running situations at all where he should have been running the football. Just a very inept balance of game planning on that one on Monday. I'll go to you, James. Who do you got on the Rams-Colts game?
It's funny you mentioned that about the running game of Los Angeles or lack thereof. There's a rumor out there that Jonathan Taylor might be wanting to get traded to the Rams. So that might help out. So I just read that right now because they were previewing this game.
I'll talk more about Taylor after the game picks because there is a reporter that named a bunch of teams that Jonathan Taylor is linked to. So we can maybe talk about that after.
Yeah, I just read that right now. I'm thinking, there might be truth to that. Could help out both teams there. But shout out to Matt Gay. He had the 5 field goals in that win off offensive special teams, AFC special teams player of the week. Really good job, of course. But this one feels like a field goal game as well, honestly. If Puka Nacua, I know he's banged up. I know he did play, but he didn't perform as well. Credit to the Bengal defense. I think it's going to be another field goal game. I guess I'll go with the Rams, but it's going to be a really ugly game, I think.
Yeah, right now the line, James, is the Colts are at -1. So essentially it's a pick 'em. They really don't know specifically in Vegas kind of what's going on right now in terms of who's going to win. It's going to be up for grabs. What about you, Isaiah?
Going with the Rams because of the quarterback matchup. Matthew Stafford versus Gardner Minshew. Give me Matthew Stafford all day. I think it's going to be an ugly game like you guys mentioned, but I think it's going to come down to Matthew Stafford making a couple of clutch plays down the stretch to help the Rams win this game. And that Colts defense, they're not really that good. I'll give credit to Shane Steichen. He's built a really good rushing attack without Jonathan Taylor there in Indianapolis. But not having Anthony Richardson is going to hurt. And you guys know Gardner Minshew. He always has a couple of really good games, and then the bad Gardner Minshew ends up coming out. So give me the Rams to win this game. I think it's going to be a close, ugly game, but give me the Rams.
All right, we have a NFC South battle and the Superdome down in New Orleans. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're coming off a loss against the Eagles and Tampa on Monday night. The Saints are coming off of a 1-point loss, a crushing loss in Green Bay against the Packers. Both teams, I believe, are 2-1, so it's going to be a really good early showdown for both teams. Jameis Winston is likely to get the start in this one. Derek Carr is having an AC joint sprain, which potentially could be a couple weeks. I think that it doesn't seem like as serious as maybe it entailed, but he's probably going to miss this weekend. So with that being said, I think that the Saints are going to win this game still. It's in the Superdome. It's obviously a tough place to play. They also get Alvin Kamara back from suspension, and I know that he might not be the same he once was coming back right away, but I think that'll help them. Baker Mayfield obviously kind of came back down to earth on Monday. The Saints have a very good front. So give me the Saints here. What do you think, Isaiah?
Oh, so we got Baker Mayfield versus Jameis Winston. Wow, what a
Yep.
great showdown. Give me wow. Give me New Orleans just because they're at home, but I think this is going to be another ugly game. The quarterback matchup, I think we could see like a couple interceptions on both sides by these two quarterbacks. We might see an interception fest in this game. So if you have either the Saints defense or the Bucks defense, make sure you guys start them in fantasy football because you probably could be getting a lot of points that way. But give me New Orleans. It's in the Superdome. Alvin Kamara is coming back. The Bucks, they just look like their luck is running out, and I just don't trust Todd Bowles' defense to be able to stop the run. So give me New Orleans, and also don't be shocked if we see Kyle Trask in this game. If Baker Mayfield is out here throwing pick after pick after pick, and the offense is not moving the football, I could see a situation where we see Kyle Trask in this game.
We'll see what happens. What about you, James? What do you think?
Speaking of defenses, Isaiah mentioned that. So I'm looking at the injury report of both teams, right? You mentioned Derek Carr probably will be out for a couple of weeks or more. But looking at the injury report for Tampa Bay, it's all defensive players who are out, who may be out, or they're injured really bad or did limited practice. So Carlton Davis, Jamil Dean,
Massive. Yeah,
Derek Pitts, Villa up front,
Vita Vea, yep. Mm-hmm.
and then Devon White. They're all on the injured list.
Wow.
So think about that. And then Kamara's coming back, fresh.
Yep.
I think Kamara's going to have a big game. I'm going to go with New Orleans.
Yeah, the Bucks have a lot of their defensive guys out, especially key guys. It could be a long game for them. Right now, the Saints are 3.5 favorites. All right, we go to Philly, the Washington Commanders, who, by the way, the last time I went to Philly was Monday Night Football. Taylor Heineke got the win in Philly to actually to win and to the Eagles to snap their undefeated streak going into that game. Eagles are 3-0. They're coming off of a win in Tampa Bay. The Commanders are coming off of a blowout loss against the Buffalo Bills. I just think the Commanders, their luck. Isaiah, I know obviously that you're kind of on the Commanders hype train. I think you're going to be a fun team, but I really want to see the measuring stick against the Bills this weekend, and it just was not it. I mean, if it was close, then maybe I can kind of maybe give them a chance. But with that being said, give me Philly in this one. They're in Philly. And they're 9-point favorites right now. I think that they definitely cover that one for sure. Commanders, I think, could maybe make it a little bit close, but I just think that Philly's offense is too much. What do you think about this game, James?
I know the Eagles are kind of banged up. Quez Watkins, Fletcher Cox, and then Devontae Smith might be out. Who knows? There was another guy too. Oh yeah, Haddison Reddick. But I think he'll play. But he has yet to log a sack. But they have enough up front to get to the Washington quarterback there and disrupt things. I think Philly kind of wants revenge for that Monday night loss last year to stop their winning streak. I'm going to go Philadelphia. It might be pretty easy. I think just Washington, they look good for those couple of weeks, and then they're going to fall, it seems like. So I'm going to go Philadelphia.
What about you, Isaiah?
You know what? I'm going with the upset. Give me the Redskins. Give me the Commanders to win this game. I think that, the Eagles and the Commanders, they always play each other tough, whether it's in Washington or whether it's in Philly. It's always a tough, close game. The Commanders have had the Eagles' number in the past. And, last year they beat them with one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And now they have a better offense led by Eric Bieniemy. Sam Howell has looked really good under Eric Bieniemy's offense. Terry McLaurin has looked like a stud. But it's going to be that defense. Remember, they beat the Eagles last year without Chase Young. And now you add Chase Young back to the mix with Montez Sweat, with Jonathan Allen, that offensive line for the Eagles, who has been really good. Let's see how they do in their first real big test of the season, going up against that vaunted Commanders defensive line and that reloaded Commanders secondary. I expect Jalen Hurts to struggle in this game because of that pass rush and because of that secondary. And also, I think that with Washington, they kind of play the same style that the Eagles play, which is a run-heavy offense. Quarterback doesn't really have to do too much. Get the ball to the playmakers, let them do their thing. I think it's going to be a close game, but give me the Commanders. The Commanders are going to win this game, and they're going to shock a lot of people. And I think, you're going to see a lot of growth out of Sam Howell this weekend.
Yeah, speaking of Sam Howell, I think 4 interceptions against Buffalo. I think that he's not going to obviously have a monster game against Philly because that defense is really stout, but I think he's going to have a lot better of a game this weekend for sure. And DeAndre Swift, Isaiah, I think another thing too, I pick at the Eagles because they're balanced. So if Jalen Hurts is not playing great, they could obviously go with their running attack. But like you mentioned, that Commanders defense ain't no joke. So we'll see just in terms of what happens there. All right, we got the 0-3 Vikings. They lost against the Chargers this past weekend. The Panthers are coming off of a loss in Seattle. Both teams need a win badly. But with that being said, I like the Vikings roster on paper a little bit better. I think that they're balanced to have a win in this one. The Panthers, they might have Bryce Young back, but I just don't know how specifically he's going to be effective-wise. I think it's just another tough one for the Panthers here. Give me the Vikings. What do you think, James?
I don't want to watch this game. I'll go Minnesota, like you mentioned. I think they have a better roster. Carolina just seems like you knew it was going to be a struggle with Bryce Young. Well, first of all, trying to see over all the offensive linemen, but then trying to make the reads and all that was going to be pretty tough for him. So hopefully the Vikings break out and they look decent. If not, and if they lose Carolina,
turning heads and wow, yeah.
If they lose to Carolina, man, you might as well. All those trade rumors about Cousins, you might as well make it happen and just start over. Honestly, I know it'd be only in week 4 you'd be on 4, but you're basically sealing your fate in early in the season just like this. So I'm gonna go Vikings, but they better not lose.
And heck, if the Vikings ended up losing, I mean, Kirk Cousins is playing on an option right now, so he's essentially could be moved after this season, possibly. One overall, Caleb Williams. I don't think that they're going to tank that bad, though. That's the only thing about the Vikings. I think that the Vikings really need a quarterback. That would be a very fascinating thing. Justin Jefferson has more of an enticement to stay, if that's the case, for potentially a guy like that. But we'll talk about the draft, obviously, in the next couple months here, for sure. What do you think, Isaiah? Vikings or Panthers?
I got the Vikings losing again. I think this is a classic trap game. The Minnesota Vikings play the Kansas City Chiefs at home next week. It's a big game. And I think they're going to overlook the Panthers. And remember, Minnesota's defense struggles against mobile quarterbacks. Mobile quarterbacks have torched them in the past. They haven't been able to get any pass rush this season on any quarterbacks that they've played this entire season. I mean, they let Baker Mayfield look good against them in week 1. I mean, that just shows you how bad their defense is. But give me Carolina. It's in Carolina. That crowd is going to be raucous. Bryce Young is going to be playing in this game. I think he's going to give the Vikings a lot of problems. And remember, this is the one factor that I don't think either of you have taken into consideration. This is Adam Thielen's revenge game against his former team, and he is pissed that the Vikings got rid of him because he's a local Minnesota kid who wanted to play for the Vikings and just stay there for the rest of his career, and they cut him because they thought he had nothing left in the tank. I expect him to just be like, man, give me the ball and let me do my thing in this game, and I think he's going to have a monster game. And I think that with the Vikings, you could always count on Kirk Cousins to make a couple of late mistakes late to end up giving that the opposing team the game. So give me Carolina to win this game. I think it's a classic trap game. And for the Vikings, you look at their schedule. Last week I talked about how the Patriots needed to win that game because if they lost to the Jets, you were looking at a very, very loaded schedule coming up after that game. And there was a possibility where you could potentially go like 0-7 if you didn't win that game. You look at that Vikings schedule now. If they don't win this game coming up, They got Kansas City in Minnesota. That's probably good. That is probably a loss with
That's
how
a
bad the
loss.
defense is playing. Then they play at Chicago, and the Vikings. And when you look at that game, you probably think like, "Oh, the Vikings are going to easily
They're
win."
just so bad.
That's true. But keep in mind,
Yeah.
though, the Bears always play the Vikings tough. Like, I don't know what it is about the Bears.
Yeah.
They always play the Vikings tough, and it's in Chicago. So that game could be a trap game. But then you look at the other games after that 49ers and Packers in Lambeau Field. Like that, like Minnesota, there's a good shot that they could start 1-7. And if they start 1-7, you look at the rest of their schedule with, multiple meetings they have meetings with they have multiple meetings against Detroit. They have a game against the Bengals. They have a game against Green Bay after that. They have the Raiders. They have the Broncos in Denver late December. I mean, that could be a really ugly season for the Vikings if they don't win this week.
We'll see what happens. The Steelers are going to play against the Texans. Now, before the season, if you asked me this specifically, I would probably ask you're crazy in terms of did the Texans have a chance. But the Texans have really been playing pretty decent football, at least in the last couple of weeks here. They went into Jacksonville, and they had a very convincing win in Jacksonville. Now, I will say this. I think the Steelers here are going to win this game. The Steelers are coming off of a win against the Raiders on Sunday Night Football. The Texans are coming off an impressive win against the Jaguars. But the biggest reason why the Steelers won in this game is because that front for the Steelers is very vicious. The last defensive front that the Texans played was week 1 against the Ravens, and they really struggled. C.J. Stroud really struggled under pressure against that front for that defense. So with that being said, give me the Steelers here to win this game and them going to 3-1. And I agree with Isaiah in terms of I don't think that the Steelers are going to win that division, but I do think that there's a decent chance that Mike Tomlin and company can make the playoffs because they just always find a way when it's all said and done down at the end there. And, I think Kenny Pickett gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I think that he's not an awful quarterback. I'm not saying he's bad, but I know James is obviously looking at me. But, I just think specifically with the Steelers team, obviously the biggest player, their best player is TJ Watt. And if TJ Watt is on that field, the Steelers obviously always have a chance. So I'm going with the Steelers here because of that defense, and I had them win this game. So I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who do you got in the Steelers-Texans game?
Ooh, you're right. This Texans offensive line is not that great, which is a recipe for disaster because the Steelers have a great defensive line. So I think C.J. Stroud will be running for his life all day in this football game. But the thing is, it's in Houston, and it's in a raucous environment in Houston. DeMeco Ryans, I think that's his first home game. I might be wrong on that, but
no, their first one was against the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of tough because it's in Houston. The Steelers' offense has started slow in the past, and I think that this Texans defensive line led by Will Anderson Jr., I think that they could definitely get after this Kenny Pickett-led offense. Give me Pittsburgh, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people are expecting when it comes to the Steelers and Texans. I think the reason why I'm picking the Pittsburgh Steelers is because I don't think the Texans can block that vaunted Pittsburgh defensive line. And when your quarterback is running around and around and around, even though he's mobile, that's a recipe for disaster.
And right now, the line Isaiah, and you said it was going to be close. Right now, the line is -3 at the Steelers. So essentially, they're giving the Texans essentially a shot in this game to be close. And I think that they will because I just think specifically with Kenny Pickett, I know that he's more on the younger side. He's just very ineffective, even though I think that he's a lot of promise. But that defense for the Texans, I think, has shown promise, especially with DeMeco Ryans being there. But the difference is going to be that Steelers defensive front on that Texans O-line. What do you think, James?
Credit to DeMeco Ryans, willing his team last week to beat Jacksonville, in Jacksonville there. I think the Steelers win, although it's not going to be easy like last week against the Raider defense. But I want to see Will Anderson have a breakout game. I really do on the Texas defensive line. I want to see him get after Kenny Pickett. stop Najee Harris and Warren. I do want to see that. But if Pickett has time, I think he's going to slay the secondary of Houston. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh, but, C.J. Stroud, if he hasn't had his welcome to the NFL moment, this might be it. Having T.J. Watt there. And then on the other side, Alonzo Highsmith.
They got Highsmith. They got Hayward in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, their front is absolutely it's a force to be reckoned with for sure.
So and I know C.J. Stroud was, mentioning like, hey, we're not going to lay down and submit. But, against that front of Pittsburgh, I think that's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, he'll find it the hard way for sure. Now your game, James. The Raiders, they're 1-2. They're coming off of the loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football. The Chargers are coming off of a win where they almost charged it up. I was about to say loss because it felt like they almost charged it up again, but they didn't in this one against the Vikings. But with that being said, man, Austin Eckler doesn't seem like he's going to be playing again this weekend. Mike Williams is out for the season, so that takes two of Justin Herbert's main weapons. But with that being said, the Chargers, they really went head-to-head in Week 1 against the Dolphins. In Week 2, they played I'm trying to remember who they played Week 2. But regardless, last week they were, they had a high-scoring game. They've been pretty much scoring a lot of really high-scoring games.
They lost to Tennessee.
Tennessee, thank you. Yeah, but that game I think was high scoring as well too. If it wasn't for Brandon Staley, who by the way, he's going to be fired. Let's all be real. I don't especially know why he's still there. Like Isaiah said with Vance Joseph, I don't know why Brandon Staley's still there. But that's another story for another day. But I think that the Chargers are going to do enough to not charge it up. Sorry, James, against your Raiders. I just think specifically with that Raiders offensive line, at least you have Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, being able to go aggressive. And Jimmy Garoppolo is we don't know specifically he's going to play. And he might have passed concussion protocols. I don't know specifically. Aiden O'Connell might have a chance to start this weekend. I'm not sure. The other option is Brian Hoyer. So regardless of that being said, the Chargers are a 5.5 favorite. I'm going to go with the Chargers here. And I think that they're going to go to 2-2, and the Raiders are going to go down to 1-3. I'll go to you, James, the Raider fan here in the group. And what do you think?
Oh, man. I was going to go to this game, but I realized, I don't think I'll waste an afternoon on going to that game. O'Connell should start, but it looks like Brian Hoyer will if Garoppolo doesn't pass through the concussion protocol test. So that's unfortunate because I made a video earlier today on my YouTube and my Instagram saying just screw it. The season's over already. Start Aiden O'Connell. You never know, he could turn out to be something. He had a good preseason, and I thought, okay, that's good. You could put him above Hoyer, but they didn't, of course, in the quarterback competition there. But man, losing Mike Williams, it just seems like the Chargers always lose him or Keenan Allen every year, and it's always a big injury for a long time. I remember they played the Raiders Week 1. I was there last year. Keenan Allen had a hamstring injury. He left before halftime, and he didn't come back until late in the season when they really needed him. So it just feels like it's just bound to happen. And this Eckler thing, it just seems like it's getting worse and worse if he can't play. It's a hamstring injury, right? I can't
for Eckler, I believe so. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. I'll let you know now.
But. And those are really hard to work with. You feel good one day, then you'll come out running, and it'll start to act up again. And I guess that's what's going on with him. But I expect Chargers to win pretty easy. I think Keenan Allen's going to have a big day. I think Herbert, he's going to find his tight ends more often. Raider defense just looks really bad. I would hope at some point O'Connell is playing for the Raiders and maybe he gets more people involved. But I think the Chargers win pretty easy. I want to see other from Adams, which I know he ranted out. He's like, I want to win. I got my stats, but I want to win. We're not going to do that with the Raiders. So, and already the rumors are coming up, and we're not even to week 4 about Adams and maybe wanting to be traded. It was like I predicted that. I was like, watch. After week 5 or 6, watch. He might get traded, or there's rumors already. So yeah, Chargers win. The Rays are a big mess right now.
So I do apologize in terms of Eckler. Apparently, he did practice today or the day before, so he might be questionable possibly, which might be good for the Chargers. But if he's out, I think Week 5 is a really realistic possibility for Austin Eckler to come back. But I do think, regardless of the fact that the Chargers are going to win this game, they probably don't even need Eckler to be honest here. Nope. Isaiah, what do you think?
It all depends on Jimmy Garoppolo's health. If Jimmy Garoppolo plays, I'm going to pick the Raiders. I think that it's going to be a shootout, but the thing with the Raiders and Chargers is that they always play shootouts, and the Chargers always find a way to lose late. That's the thing about the Chargers. They always charger, and they always just find a way to lose late. And don't count out the Chargers to blow a game late if it gets close. But to get it close, Jimmy Garoppolo has to play. But if it's like Aiden O'Connell or if it's Brian Hoyer, it's going to be a blowout. So it really all depends. If Garoppolo is playing, I'm going to go with the Raiders. But if O'Connell or Hoyer's playing, give me the Chargers. And I don't think it's going to be really much of a game because Hoyer, we know what he does. O'Connell first start going up against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I mean, yikes. That's not a way that you want to be welcome.
That offensive line for the Raiders too?
What's that?
I said with that offensive line too for the Raiders?
Ooh, yeah, exactly. With that offensive line, I mean, good Lord. So, yeah, it really depends. But if Jimmy G doesn't play, give me the Chargers.
All right. I was going to say something, but maybe I totally forgot. If I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. All right. The Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are going to go to Levi Stadium to take on your San Francisco 49ers, Isaiah. The Cardinals are coming off of a win against the Dallas Cowboys last week, and the 49ers are coming off of a win at Levi against the New York Giants. It's a 14-point favorite, Isaiah, right now for your 49ers, by the way. But I do think it's going to be close. I do think that the Cardinals have really been playing close games a lot this whole way. But still, with that being said, the Niners have had 30 points in their first 3 games. I think that they're going to score within the 25 to 30 mark. I think the Cardinals kind of fall back a little down to earth here in this one. Even though they might not have Deebo Samuel, they might get Brandon Ayuk back, which is one of Brock Purdy's favorite targets. I'm going to go with San Fran. What about you, Isaiah?
This is easy. Give me the Niners. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people expect just because, the Cardinals, I'll give them credit. They're gritty. They're pesky. They fight. But in the end, San Fran's got more firepower, both offensively and defensively. I think the Niners, they know to not overlook the Arizona Cardinals because of what they did to the Dallas Cowboys last week. So they won't overlook the Cardinals. But with all that firepower in offense, Deebo probably won't play. Ayuk probably will play. Though, give me the Niners. I think the Niners, they just look like the best team in the NFC right now. And with Purdy, just game manage the game. Don't turn the football over. The defense give you what they can give you. They kind of remind me of Georgia in a way with Stetson Bennett. Just not make any mistakes. Don't turn the football over. Let your playmakers do their thing and let the defense shut it down. So give me the Niners. I think it's going to be a 2-score victory for the Niners.
And what about you, James?
I'm hoping Arizona makes it a game, but I don't think it will. I think 49ers easily win this. I'm very happy, though, with the Cardinals. I mean, they've been in every game, and they won last week over the Cowboys, but I think you're facing a front here of the 49ers that's going to make things really bad for the Arizona offense. But I'm going to go with San Francisco.
All right. My New England Patriots, the 1-2 Patriots who just escaped a Zach Wilson-less team. Oh, man. But they needed that win badly. They're going to go to play the Cowboys in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. Last year, the Patriots lost an overtime pass from Prescott to Lant and Gillette. But it was a really good game. It was back and forth. I remember Mac Jones throwing that pick to Trayvon Diggs for the pick six. The next possession, Mac Jones threw the touchdown to Kendrick Bourne, which had the Patriots for the lead, just for it to be escaped right away after. It was a good one, good tough game. Man, the Cowboys are coming off of a loss against the Cardinals. Right now, it's a 6.5 favorite now in Dallas. I hate picking against my team, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys here. But I think the Patriots, and I know, obviously, no, we don't do lines and spreads, but I think the Patriots could cover this game. I think it's going to be a close game. It depends really specifically about the lines. The line of scrimmage, the Dallas offensive lines, I think they might be able to banged up. Zach Martin could be banged up. Tyron Smith might be out. So that might be beneficial to the Patriots defense. But I just really worry about that defensive line, Michael Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence and company. And, CeeDee Lamb might be shadowed by Christian Gonzalez, who, by the way, is Rookie of the Month. Congratulations to Gonzo. Absolute stud. He had to go against, by the way, September, guys. He had to go against A.J. Brown. He had to go against Tyreek Hill. The first two games with that Garrett Wilson. So, he is definitely leading up, at least for right now. So give him a lot of props. Definitely doing a great job. But, man, this feels like a 24-17 type of game for the Cowboys to win. The Patriots could be in a track meet. They just can't do that against a team like Dallas. At least they haven't shown to me right now. Patriots go to 1-3. But with that being said, I think that the Patriots have a pretty favorable schedule after that. So I think specifically that if they can keep it close and around, I consider that a win. But hopefully that they can win this game, because I think they'll change a lot of people's perspectives on this Patriots team. I'll go to you, James. Who do you have winning?
Man, this is, of course, the return of Ezekiel Elliott to Dallas. So that's going to be, as he mentioned, he said it's going to be definitely weird. So I don't know how he'll come out. Maybe he'll have something to prove. Maybe he won't. Maybe he won't see the field too much. But there's that storyline. I think the Cowboys win this game, but hopefully it's a close one. I don't know with Mac Jones, though. I'm hoping that he gets Juju more involved. I'm hoping that they take advantage that Diggs isn't playing. I think that would be good to see Juju get the ball more and Hunter Henry. I'm hoping. But I think the Cowboys win this.
I agree. I'm gonna go with Dallas
go
as
ahead,
well, sadly. Ben, if the Dallas Cowboys did not lose last week to the Cardinals, I could potentially see the Patriots winning, because it would be a trap game. Because the next week the Dallas Cowboys play on Sunday Night Football against my Niners, which will be an epic game. But Dallas lost last week. They're gonna come in the game pissed off. It's in Dallas. Dallas has a really good offense and a really good defense. And Dallas is going to play this game, trying to get back after losing last week. I just don't think your Patriots have enough offensive firepower to keep up with the Dallas Cowboys. And that's the thing with the Patriots. If they get down, and if it's down big, then forget about them coming back, because it's just not going to happen. So give me Dallas. It's in Dallas. Dallas is pissed off. I think the Cowboys, I don't know if it's going to be close. I got Dallas winning like 27-17.
That's fair. I mean, for the Patriots, Isaiah, I know you brought it to my attention on last show on Tuesday. Like, the Patriots should go out and get like a true number one, because, they play a lot of great teams and their defense is really good. It's just the problem is you can't bank on 2s and 3s to be able to, be going track meets against a lot of these high power type offenses. It just can't happen. And that's one thing about Bill Belichick, was when you had Tom Brady for 20 years, you're able to overcome those deficiencies in those skill position areas, and you just don't have that anymore. So you have to be able to find out, if you're the Patriots, if you can be able to keep within reach of the AFC East through October 31st, call the Broncos potentially for a Judy or Sutton, even Devontae Adams, even though that would be highly unlikely, but they need to find something, because I know you said Juju, James. I never was a big fan of the Juju signing to start. I think that there's really an injury potentially out there. Hopefully he could turn it around. I'd love to see it. Hopefully he has a good game on Sunday. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. The Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce Chiefs, I guess you can call it. The talk of I don't know, guys. You know that Taylor Swift was at the game last Sunday?
I heard
I'm
about
pretty
it.
sure she was. Yeah, I heard about it, right? I'm not joking. It was pretty much all over social media, and she's likely probably going to be, I think, at the game at MetLife. There's going to be more air coverage of Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs team than Zach Wilson on Sunday night. It is going to be an absolute blowout. Right now, the line is -9 in favor of the Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming off a blowout game against the Bears. The Jets are coming off of a loss against the Patriots. Give me the Chiefs to win. I think it's going to be a very similar feel like the Chiefs-Bears game last week. Maybe not as much of a blowout, but I think it could be like a 28-10 type of game. Zach Wilson and Patrick Mahomes could be one of the biggest mismatches we see all season. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs in this one. What about you, Isaiah?
Believe it or not, I'm picking the Jets.
Okay.
I think the Jets stun the world and beat the Chiefs because it's in New York. When you play in New York, Sunday Night Football, the weather's not going to be that great, actually, for this game. It's supposed to rain in this game. And here's the
I don't
thing.
know.
Rain changes a lot of stuff. Rain changes
Right.
a lot of stuff. The thing is, I still don't really believe in the Chiefs' defense. They have shown signs of greatness, but the thing with the Chiefs' defense is we've seen this before from the Kansas City Chiefs. They always just have some great games on defense, and then when you don't expect it, their defense just doesn't show up. I know Patrick Mahomes is going to show up, but he's going up against a Jets defense that you can say that, hey, that defense is championship level defense. And I expect that defense to get after him. That offensive line for the Chiefs kind of struggled a little bit in that game. I expect that Jets defense to be able to shut down the run and just contain Patrick Mahomes. Remember, Robert Saleh has the recipe to contain Patrick Mahomes. He did that in the Super Bowl 3-4 years ago, where they just contained Patrick Mahomes. They just couldn't make necessary plays to be able to win it late in that game. And it's not going to be a game where Zach Wilson has to do much to win the game. But against that Chiefs defense, I expect the Chiefs to give up a couple of big explosive plays when it comes to the running game. I think Breece Hall has a really good day. Dalvin Cook has a bounce back game for the New York Jets. And I think it's going to come down to obviously Zach Wilson, but he's got Garrett Wilson at his disposal, and I expect that Garrett Wilson versus some of those Chief corners, I expect that even though Zach Wilson will have that defensive line coming after him, I do expect Zach Wilson to have a couple of two nice passes to Garrett Wilson late. That's going to end up giving the Jets just a stunning win over the Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Jets winning this game. It's going to be a close game, but it's going to be a low scoring, like 24-21 game.
Okay. What about you, James?
I don't know why we had to listen to all that stupidity right now. It's gonna be 45-10, Kansas City. There'll be more.
We'll see. That's more like it right now. That's how I feel. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
there's gonna be more shots of Taylor Swift in her suite than
The whole
I don't
game.
know what else. More camera shots of Taylor Swift than points scored by the Jets on Sunday night.
Oh my god.
Yeah, 45-10 Kansas City, and I'm not even going to watch. I'm going to be going to bed early for that.
I won't blame you. I'm obviously upset and bummed that we didn't see an Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes type of match because we haven't seen that yet. And that was obviously something that was anticipated when Rodgers signed that deal with the Jets, that we had all these primetime games. Patrick Mahomes is going to be on this, and here we are, Zach Wilson against Patrick Mahomes. So we'll see how things go with that. And then we have Monday Night Football. We just only have one game this weekend. The Seahawks are coming off of a win in Seattle against the Carolina Panthers. The Giants are coming off of a loss against the San Francisco 49ers. The Giants actually made that game pretty close on the first half, so I give them credit. Saquon might be back this week, same as Andrew Thomas. Right now, the Seahawks are a -1 favorite. Thing about the Giants, guys, is Daniel Jones in primetime is not good. He's like 1-11 in his last 12 games. The Seahawks have been shown that they can score a lot of points. I mean, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker. That offense can really move the football. I think it's going to be a close game. It could be like a 24-21 type of feel in this one. But I got Seattle winning this one. I think that the Giants are going to go to 1-3 start the season. I think Seattle, I'm pretty sure. I think they're 2-1 right now. Yeah, they're 2-1 right now because they went to Detroit and won, which is a really good game. And then they went to play Carolina. I know they didn't have Bryce Young, but I think that they won. Well, yeah, they did win. So they were 2-1. So give me the Seahawks. I think that they're gonna come out on top and win this one. What do you think, Isaiah?
I'm gonna go with Big Blue. It's in New York. I don't really believe in the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense hasn't looked that great all season long. I think you're gonna see a lot of offense from both sides. Daniel Jones, I think will have some really nice throws. I think that I don't think Saquon's not playing, right, guys, in this game.
Mm-mm.
There's a chance he could.
So if he comes back, that Seahawks run defense is not that great. So I could see Saquon going off because that defense is not that great. And on the other side, Geno Smith has looked average. He hasn't looked that great. The running game though with Kenneth Walker. I mean, Kenneth Walker is an absolute beast. I mean, this guy is so good, man. I think he'll be able to exploit the Giants' run defense. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think that you're going to see a lot of offense in this game. Give me the Giants to win this game, 27-24.
And what about you, James?
Oh man, I don't want to see the Giants or the Jets. I think the Seahawks win pretty easily. I just don't see Daniel Jones having a good game at all. Just something about the Jets or Giants, both teams, where they have expectations, but they're really flying under those. I believe Seattle kind of salvaged their thinking of how the season's going to go last week. I think with the extra day of rest, they'll be really good. They'll run well. They'll pass well. Geno Smith, I think being back in that stadium kind of wants a little revenge there. I know it's not against the Jets, but I think he's going to play well against the Jets, or Giants, excuse me. So give me the Seahawks.
All right, and that concludes our Week 4 games. Like I said, it's going to be very fascinating to play a lot of division games, for sure. Our last topic, guys, of the night is going to be NBA. We got Media Day coming up in the next couple days, and of course, a massive blockbuster trade that transpired before then was something that I think stunned a lot of us. I mean, I remember I was at work on, I think this happened on the 27th, so that was on Wednesday. I was at work, I was outside, and one of my buddies me and him talk a lot basketball, he comes up to me, he's just like, "You are exactly the person I want to see right now." I'm like, okay, something must have happened. He's just like, "Do you hear about Damian Lillard?" I said, "No." He's just like, "Yeah, he just got moved like 20 minutes ago." I'm like, "Where?" I'm like, I was thinking to myself, maybe Miami. He's like, "No, the Bucks." I'm like, "What? Whoa, the Bucks." And I was like, I thought the Bucks maybe could have been a team to look at specifically, but my God. We'll talk in terms of who really won that steal, but the overall storylines of it. So the deal goes as follows: the Bucks get Damian Lillard to match with Giannis Antetokounmpo, which, by the way, I think is now going to be overtaken by Celtics. The Celtics and Bucks are going to be the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. I think really when that's all said and done. I still don't believe I think the Miami Heat are probably going to be in the top 4. Philly, they have a lot of question marks with James Harden. So, I still think the Celtics and Bucks are the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. But it was a 3-team trade with the Bucks, Blazers, and the Suns. So the Bucks always got Dame. The Blazers got Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, 2029 first-round picks from the Bucks, and a Bucks pick swap. And then the Suns got Jusuf Nurkic, Nazir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. Now, part of this deal right now is somebody who I really want the Celtics to look at, and we'll talk a little bit about him, who's kind of a mainstay in the Blazers trade right now, is Drew Holiday. Is expected, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, to be moved from the Blazers to a contending type team. Mm-hmm. Right now, those teams include the Boston Celtics, the LA Clippers, and the Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll see specifically in terms of where things go from here. But with that being said, guys, what do you think of this deal? This was an absolute Woj bomb, if anything, when I found out about this. And we got a lot to talk about in terms of this really quick. So, James, I will start with you. Damian Lillard, after 13 seasons, I think 14 seasons, he literally just put out an absolute press release on Twitter after thanking the Blazers. Which, by the way, guys, there's a rumor out there, because I know Miami is, of course, a massive team that he was looking at, that if he was going to go to Miami, right? And essentially Damian Lillard was going to rescind that trade request from the Heat and go back to the Blazers. But the GM for the Blazers said, nope, you are gone. You are out of here. So
Wow.
with that being said, yeah, I don't know if you got the chance to see that, but that was essentially the Blazers front office was simply just done. And I think with Dame, he moved on and they're at peace that way. So, Isaiah, we'll start with you. What do you think about
Hey,
this?
Isaiah, let me go first because I know you want to go off.
Well, either of you guys can go first. I don't know. I'm just
you go first.
how you feel.
You go first.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how you guys feel about this.
Isaiah just mentioned like, oh, he's about to go off, and I don't have too much to say about it because I think I said a lot yesterday. And anyway, with the Bucks, I think Giannis last week mentioned, hey, I want to win. And if we're not, by the time my contract is up, I want to go somewhere else. So I think the Bucks organization kind of took that to heart and said, okay, we got to strike a deal right now. And me, Isaiah, were talking about a trade possibility, but I think we had the Bucks in the back of our minds, but we were thinking.
Well, James, I hate to interrupt you, but so just to give our viewers context, we did a show last week. We did the Kicking It with Kruse show last Thursday. We talked about it because apparently there was a reporter from Arizona who's very plugged in saying that the trade was imminent, that it was going to happen 24, 48 hours or could be early this week. And he was absolutely right. He said the deal was going to be one part of the deal was that Phoenix would send DeAndre Ayton to Portland for Jusuf Nurkic, which ended up happening. But we were just looking at teams and we were just going off about it because we were reading the reports and it just sounded like Miami was not even close to making a deal happen.
Yeah, Bama Adebayo, I know that they were not going to put him in that deal, and I think that's why it was just stalled for a while. Anybody else could have been available, not Butler or Bam, but anybody else. I think the Blazers wanted either of those guys, and you knew that was not going to happen. So it's good that the Bucks, they showed Giannis, hey, we're going to try to win now and then for the rest of your career if you want to stay. The Trailblazers, getting on DeAndre Ayton, that's good because I think he was on their radar because they knew eventually they were going to have to make this trade, and they needed the Suns to be a part of that deal where they could help each other out. And I think DeAndre Ayton, ever since 21, when they played the finals in against Milwaukee, where they benched him, they've had beef ever since. And then they paid him, and then he still was having bad relations with Monty Williams, the front office, the coaches, the players. You saw last year, Aiden wasn't really, boxing out anybody against the Nuggets. He was really lazy. He was getting benched again. So you knew that was going to end. You just knew it. For Drew Holiday, yeah, I could see him to go to any of those three teams you mentioned, Ben. But the picks later on, they don't mean anything to the Bucks because they just want to win. For the Suns, getting Grayson Allen, that's good off the bench. Also, Keon Johnson, that could be a good player as well. But getting Nurkic, when healthy, he's not like his old teammate Jokic, but he can really do well with some interior passing and then some clutch rebounding. So that's a really good deal for the Suns. So I think hopefully this is a trade that works out for all three teams. I really do. I want it to work out for all three teams. But we'll see what happens. The Suns would have to meet the Bucks in the playoffs. I mean, in the finals, possibly. The Bucks would have to go to the finals multiple times. And then the Blazers, now since they drafted Lillard's replacement, Scoot Henderson, with the third pick in the draft this year. Now it's going to be him and Aiden basically going forward along with Simons there, and that's about it. They're just building. So, again, I hope this trade works out for all three. All right, Isaiah, go off.
All right, Isaiah, here we go.
Well, I'm like you, Ben. When I first heard the news of the trade, I was actually working at the airport and I was holding my company issued iPad, and for some reason, I don't want to rat myself out and get myself in trouble for this, but I was,
Yeah.
there was none customers, and I was just looking up stuff on my company issued iPad, and I was searching up the Lakers because the media day was coming up, and then all of a sudden I see like Drew Holiday to the Lakers and other like rumors like that popped up on the Google feed, and I was like, what the heck is going on? And in the back of my head, I kind of like thought that, okay, something had happened because obviously, your Google feed would not be popping up with rumors about Drew Holiday potentially going to the Lakers. And then I went on hoopsrumors.com and I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, holy bleep. Like Damian Lillard just got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, this is absolutely insane. It's absolutely bonkers. And James is right. We were talking about last week about, because this trade, it seemed like it was close. It seemed like it could happen any day now. And we kind of just thought like, okay, so these, like, what team other besides Miami that would make this trade, that could make this trade happen with the with the Blazers to get Damian Lillard, that would make sense. Like we talked about the Bulls. I think we talked about potentially like the Bulls wouldn't make sense because you would
The
basically
Raptors.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Raptors. But the Bulls and Raptors kind of wouldn't make sense because they wouldn't be championship contending teams with Damian Lillard. I know the wild one we brought up was the Orlando Magic. That was one
You
of them.
did, not me. You did.
I did, and that was actually a rumor.
No
Apparently the
way.
Magic actually checked in with the Blazers to get Dame. But there was one team that we've mentioned that was like, if that happened, we would be like, holy bleep. And that was the Milwaukee Bucks. We were like, imagine Dame and Giannis playing together, but James and I both were like, there's no way that's going to happen. Like, that's so far-fetched. And then, boom, it just happened. It happened yesterday that Giannis and Damian Lillard are teaming up. But let me start with the Milwaukee Bucks. They get so much better. They are now one of the favorites in the Eastern Conference. The tide in the Eastern Conference has shifted now. Milwaukee was a team that I think a lot of people thought like, oh my God, this might blow up at any point with both the the Heat and the Celtics trending upward, and the Bucks just got eliminated in the first round by the number 8 seed. Now it shifts. The Milwaukee Bucks have now gone from a team that everybody thought would implode at any minute to a team that is now the front runner to be the team in the East to represent the East. It's a great trade. The thing is, Giannis has never had that killer scorer next to him. He's never had that second superstar next to him. He's always had Middleton. Middleton's a nice player, but he's not a superstar. He's had Drew Holiday, but Drew Holiday, let's face it, he's not a superstar. And now he gets that superstar next to him and Damian Lillard. I think Giannis is going to absolutely thrive because he doesn't have to have any he doesn't have to put all the pressure on him to now perform. I think now you can share it with Damian Lillard. I think it's a massive move. It's a great trade for the Milwaukee Bucks. And plus, they didn't really have to give up a whole lot. Like, yeah, they give up Holiday, but I would take Damian Lillard over Drew Holiday any day of the week. And also, Grayson Allen, you give him up. You give up, draft picks, but those are like 2028, 2029. Like, you're trying to win a championship now. Like, you don't care about draft picks 4 or 5 years from now. So they didn't really give up a whole lot. So I think it's a great trade for them. Let's talk about the Blazers. They get Ayton. Okay, not bad. But they also get draft picks, which, by the time 2028, 2029 hits, are the Bucks going to be any good? Giannis is probably going to be in his mid-30s. Damian Lillard is going to be in his early 40s. Like, the Bucks could honestly blow up by then. So I think those draft picks could be worth a lot. And who else did the Blazers get? Did they get they got Grayson Allen, didn't they?
They got Holiday, but Holiday is likely going to be moved out of that trade because the Blazers are trying to move him to a contention type team.
Okay, so they got Holiday, and they'll probably get more for Holiday, and now they can let Scoot Henderson be the guy to run the show there in Portland. So that totally makes sense. And then for the Suns, I think the Suns are sitting here worse than they were before they made the trade. I mean, they don't really have that rim protector. Josef Nurkic is not really a rim protector. He's not a guy that gonna challenge you in the paint. And I just don't know why they made that trade. DeAndre Ayton was that shot blocker. He was the guy that prevented guys from driving into the lane and going into the paint and having easy shots. I just don't know why they made that trade. Nurkic is better offensively, but he's worse defensively. They got better offensively, but they need defense, and they haven't gotten really that defensive upgrade this season. But the biggest loser out of all of this, fellas, the biggest loser, this is where I'm going to go off. The biggest loser out of all of this, fellas, is the Miami Heat. This is what happens when you F around, you find out. The Miami Heat found out the hard way yesterday that, hey, there's nothing in the NBA as a total lock. Heat fans thought that, hey, we're going to get Lillard. We're going to get Damian Lillard. He's a lock to come here because, even if he's traded to another team like the Celtics, the Raptors, the Magic, etc., he's not going to report there. But you know what? The Heat, they kept lowballing. And Pat Riley kept offering Tyler Hero, and he kept offering like a couple draft picks, and that's it. And I was like, dude, nobody wants your offers. And Heat fans kept telling me, Tyler Hero is the second coming. He's the next superstar. I had one guy telling me, Tyler Hero is the second coming of Devin Booker. And I was like, are you insane?
What?
Like, nobody wants these guys. Nobody wants Duncan Robinson. Nobody wants Tyler Hero. Nobody wants Yarquez. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Nobody wants any of these guys. Like, your offers that you're throwing out there are not good offers. Like, I could probably do better with like Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, to be honest with you, than the packages that Miami was offering. So Miami did not offer Bam. Miami didn't up their offer. They kept on lowballing Portland with their offers, and Portland thankfully didn't bite, and Portland realized that none of their offers were worth anything. I mean, you could probably get a box of cookies and a donut with that offer, but you're certainly not going to get Damian Lillard by offering those trash offers that they offered. But Pat Riley, he played with fire. He effed around, and he found out that, hey, okay, because he thought that, if you trade Damian Lillard to Orlando, if you trade Damian Lillard to Chicago, if you trade Damian Lillard to Toronto, it doesn't impact our chances to win a championship. What he didn't realize was Milwaukee was lurking. He didn't take into consideration that Milwaukee could get Damian Lillard and completely flip the balance of power in the Eastern Conference, and they did. And now Damian Lillard is in Milwaukee. The Heat have definitely moved down the totem pole in the Eastern Conference. And look at the Miami Heat now, fellas. Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard. These were all guys that Heat fans and the Heat thought they were getting. But instead, they kept lowballing offers. They were not aggressive to get them, and they swung and missed and struck out on every single star that they attempted to get. And, the Heat, I don't know what you do now, honestly, because you tried to get another starter pair with Jimmy Butler. You tried for Donovan Mitchell. You tried for Zach LaVine. You tried for Damian Lillard. You tried for Kevin Durant. Tried for Kawhi Leonard. Tried for Kyrie Irving. The only superstar you ended up with was Kyle freaking Lowry. That was your superstar. That's the guy you ended up getting out of all the guys that you tried to get. It reminds me, and I think James knows where I'm going to go with this. It reminds me of the Lakers in the latter days of Kobe Bryant in his career, where the Lakers swung for every superstar in the world, and they ended up getting like Roy Hibbert and Carlos Boozer and Jeremy Lin. Like, those are the guys they ended up getting. That's the Heat right now. They swing for every star, and they try to get the biggest of the big fish, and they end up getting Kyle Lowry past his prime. Like, that's who they end up getting. And the last thing I'll say about this before I'll end my comments for this topic is, if I'm Tyler Hero, honestly, I will want out. I will go into Pat Riley's office and say, trade me, because it's obviously you don't want me in Miami. You've been, putting me in trade offers for the past year and a half. And Tyler Hero even made a cryptic tweet today where he said that, someone posted something where they said, congrats to Tyler Hero on surviving the trade rumors. And then he said,
I saw that.
yeah, and then he said, like, until next year with the signed P. So obviously Tyler Hero wants out. And here's a crazy idea, James and Ben. If I'm the Lakers, December 15th is when they can start trading all the guys that they signed to new contracts. If I'm the Lakers, I would trade D'Angelo Russell for Tyler Hero straight up. Because you need a shooting guard. Because you can have Reeves running your point guard. That's fine. You don't need another point guard. You need a shooting guard. And Hero would be the perfect shooting guard next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And he'd be wide open for threes every single play. And Miami, they need a point guard to pair with Jimmy Butler. Kyle Lowry has not worked out. They need a point guard. And why not get D'Angelo Russell, who's a great slasher? He's an okay three-point shooter, and he can run the offense next to Jimmy Butler. And it's not going to be the superstar you'll get, but obviously it looks like Hero wants out. It's just a great ending to two very toxic situations.
Yeah, obviously you made a lot of awesome points there, Isaiah, in terms of the Dame trade. We welcome here Shardul Gupta, who's been with us in the program before and other ones. Shardul, hope you're doing well, my friend. Thanks for coming on. We'll get your reaction in terms of this Dame Lillard trade. How do you feel about this?
I think this Damian Lillard trade, it's going to definitely hurt Blazer fans because Blazer fans love this guy. Like, this guy was their guy. Now he's playing for Milwaukee. I think, it's going to hurt, but I think Blazer fans are going to get used to, him seeing him play in Milwaukee. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to see him play for the Bucks, right? Because, he played for the Blazers for so many years. Now you see him coming. It's just like Trey Lance coming to the Cowboys. It's just that type of hurt feeling. Trey Lance used to play for the Niners, but he's now playing for Dallas. So it's that same feeling that Blazer fans are having with him playing in Milwaukee.
It's a transition.
So how do you guys feel about this trade? You think that he's gonna add a lot of depth to the Bucks next year with him on the roster?
Yeah, he's a championship type player. He's going to essentially evaluate that team to championship aspirations. The odds right now, according to FanDuel, it looks like the Bucks overtook teams like the Celtics and others to get to win the NBA Finals. So
another star that the Bucks just signed, because I'm a San Jose State alum. I went to San Jose State University. We just signed Amari Moore, who was a shooting guard. And we have, I'm so excited because I want to see how he's going to play, because I went to many San Jose State basketball games when I was on campus, and I got to see him play. This guy is amazing. This guy is athletic. This guy is fast on his feet. He has lots of versatility. He can go on and off the court. He's really fun to play. But he's on the roster, but I haven't seen him play. He just got signed, so I haven't seen him play a little bit.
All right. Well, Shardul, we thank you. We're probably going to conclude tonight's program. We're actually just get some final thoughts because my computer is
Ben,
almost at 10.
Thanks for having me on. And just let me know when you're having another show. Just let me know and just send a link, and I'll try. And if I'm not able to join, I'll let you know. But if I'm able to join, I'll definitely hop on.
Yeah, baseball playoffs and stuff next week, and you got the Lillard stuff, you got college football, you got NFL football. There's a lot going on. So we appreciate you, Shardul, for coming on, and we'll definitely see you for next time. Back with the other two we have here, my other co-hosts. Guys, obviously the Dame stuff shook a lot of stuff here. And we'll go to final thoughts. Obviously a lot we got into tonight. We'll talk more probably Sunday or Monday of this other stuff that Jonathan Taylor. We'll talk about the Drew Holiday stuff because I will talk about that stuff next show. But I think it's kind of this point in time now where we got a decent amount of content I really wanted to get into for tonight. So with that being said, guys, I'll give it to you, James. Your final thoughts.
Again, thank you for having me on, and
of course.
I'm kind of excited about the NFL, but I want to see how these playoff races end up with the wild cards and the MLB. It's going to be a fun weekend, I think, with college football as well, with USC playing Colorado.
And what about you, Isaiah?
Great show tonight. Thank you to all the viewers for tuning in. Thanks to Chardot for making a guest appearance and hopping on late. It was a great show. And we had a lot of great topics. Like James mentioned, baseball final weekend, man. I really hope the Rangers don't blow it, because if they do, oh my God, I have a bet on them to win the World Series. So if they don't even make the playoffs, I will lose hell of money. So please, I'm begging you, do not blow this. But yeah, man,
how much did you bet on that, if you don't mind me asking?
$50. So I have a large amount on this, but I mean, it's going to be a fun weekend. A lot of baseball stuff, college football, USC, Colorado, Alabama, Mississippi State, Georgia, Auburn. I mean, such great games coming up. And then the NFL coming up on Sunday and then on Monday as well. And then we'll know also the playoff matchups on Monday and Tuesday, and also we'll probably know who gets fired and who's staying on when it comes to managers. So it's going to be very exciting this weekend. And also make sure you guys keep tuning in to the IM6 network. We are going to have a MLB playoff preview show. I think it's probably going to happen Monday night maybe, because we're trying to get it in before the playoffs, the wild card series starts, or maybe Tuesday, who knows. But either one of those days.
Monday.
Yeah, probably on Monday.
I can do my show too. I can probably do my show on Sunday.
Okay. So yeah, we'll probably do it on Monday, and we'll pick all the playoff series and probably get into some of the managers that got let go after the season.
Awesome. My overall reactions, great show, guys, as usual. Thank you guys, as usual. Once again, thank you, Shadows, for coming on, talking a little bit of the Damian Lillard stuff. But yeah, guys, I think that's about it. James, I'm pretty sure you had some of your final thoughts. So yeah, Sunday night, guys. After probably Sunday Night Football between the Chiefs Jets game, heck, we could probably even start the show early if we have to, because I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I really don't. I mean, heck, we could watch it during the time in the second half. If it's close, it's close. I might delay it, but I'm anticipating that game to be a blow up. But we'll see. Without further ado, though, guys, thank you guys for joining Kicking with Kruse. Yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday night. Make sure to tune into the I'm6 and MI6 for all the latest shows that we have. So yeah, without further ado, though, signing off. This has been Kruse, Isaiah Leon, and James Gonzalez. We will see you guys on Sunday night. Have a good night.
Oh my God! Big goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it up to the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown and a title for the Patriots. I can't believe it. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. 45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hitting to right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Puppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible.
All right.